Hello everyone, warm welcome to Regulatory Bodies YouTube channel by Textbook. My name is Madhav Sir. I welcome you all in a very important session. So in this session, we will be discussing almost 100 questions based on September month, and all the questions will be related to your finance current affairs as well as RBI related current affairs. That means RBI circulars, RBI bulletin, RBI notifications, RBI press release. All the areas will be covered in this single session itself. So you need to stay with me till the end of this session if you want to cover the September month, and I'm pretty sure September month has not yet been covered on any other platform. So this is the first platform which is providing you with the finance current affairs for the month of September as well, which is the most crucial month for your RBI Grade B examination. ठीक है जी, तो बिना किसी देरी के आज के सेशन की शुरुआत करते हैं. बट बिफोर आई स्टार्ट, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. I want everyone to just give me yes sir, yes sir, yes sir in the comment section if I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. Quickly. Okay then, if everything is fine, let's get started. Let's go to the first question of the evening. The first question is now on your screen. The question is related to the latest appointment. So consider the following statement regarding the reappointment of R. Gandhi as the non-executive chairman of Yes Bank. So RBI has approved R. Gandhi's reappointment as the non-executive chairperson of Yes Bank for the period of 2025 to 2027. That is absolutely correct. As a non-executive chairman, his role include day-to-day operational management of the bank. This is a wrong statement. Why this is a wrong statement? When we talk about the non-executive chairman, the name is itself giving us the answer. The non-executive chairperson basically means the one who is not responsible to handle the day-to-day operation, rather only and only responsible to participate in the governance strategy, board level oversight and whatnot. So second statement is wrong. Moving on to the next, R. Gandhi is a former deputy governor of RBI. That is true. He has also served on deputation to SEBI for 3 years. That is also correct. Yes Bank underwent crisis in 2020 and RBI led reconstruction plan where SBI and the other banks, they have infused equity governance reforms were introduced. That is also correct. ठीक है जी. So keeping this in mind, 1, 3, 4 and 5 are correct, but the second statement is wrong. अगर आप second statement को ऊपर से पढ़ेंगे, then you won't be able to identify the point, but this is the point, that is day-to-day operational management of the bank. So that is something which you need to remember. ठीक है जी, clear हो गया? Shall we begin? Shall we move on to the next question? Okay. Here we go to the next question. Consider the following statement regarding the Asian Development Bank as well as its recent initiatives in India, and specified in India also. I'm talking about which initiatives. So the initiatives which have been taken in Assam. First statement, ADB established in 1966 with its headquarter in Manila, Philippines, which means Tokyo, Japan is wrong. Currently has 69 members, correct. 50 belongs to the Asia Pacific region. That is also correct. India is among the largest borrowers from the Asian Development Bank, especially in the areas like infrastructure, urban governance, sustainable energy. That is true. ADB supported Assam project addressed both water scarcity as well as flood risk. That is also correct. The project emphasizes digital transformation by developing GI based tax mapping and smart billing system. That is also correct. Social inclusion is ensured by involving women's self-help group and school awareness programs with the initiative targeting sustainable development goals as well as Paris Agreement. That is also correct. So only one statement is wrong. That is the first one. Rest all the statements are correct. So keeping that in mind, C statement is the correct answer. One more thing guys, what I have done today is I have made these statements very extensive, and if you read only and only these statements, it will be a completion of the entire news. So keeping that in mind, this PDF has been designed for you. कि अगर आप सिर्फ statements भी पढ़ लेंगे questions की, then also you will be in a position to answer the questions in the examination. Moving on to the next one, just give me a second. Okay, moving on to the third question of the day. The third question talks about with reference to SEBI's September 2025 framework for intraday monitoring of index option positions, consider the following statements. First statement, the net intraday position limit per entity has been enhanced to 5,000 crores, replacing the earlier limit of 1,500 crores, and the calculation will be done as net on net basis. Net basis basically means when we talk about the future or we talk about the long minus the short one. So the difference gives us the net value. Keeping the net value in mind, the first statement is correct. For the gross intraday position, limit remains unchanged. Yes, sir, the limit has been unchanged. It is again 10,000 crores only, which is the sum of long and short term position. That is true. Exchanges are required to conduct minimum of 6 random intraday snapshots daily, including 2 mandatory snapshots during the closing hour 2:45 to 3:30 p.m. So, sir, this statement is wrong. First of all, if I talk about the minimum number of random intraday snapshots, that should be 4. Secondly, there is only one mandatory snapshot which has been fixed, but the timings are correct. But it is only one snapshot and total snapshots in a day are 4. So third statement is wrong. Moving to the next one, penalty provisions, especially for expiry day breaches, such as additional surveillance deposit and margin top-ups, come into effect from December 6, 2025. That is correct. कि जो penalty provisions है, that will be effective from 6th of December 2025. That is correct. All market infrastructure institutions are mandated to prepare a standard operating procedure for monitoring and penalties, submit it to SEBI within 15 days and communicate the participants before 1st of October 2025. So that is also correct. So answer will be 1, 2, 4 and 5. That means B option is the correct answer. समझ आ रही है बातें? क्लियर हो रहा है? स्पीड तेज तो नहीं, अगर आपको लगे स्पीड तेज है तो प्लीज बता दीजिएगा. I'll slow it down. Moving on to the next one. The next question says, with reference to the HSBC India Manufacturing PMI report of August 2025, consider the following statements. First one, India's PMI has increased to 59.3 in August 2025, which is the highest level since 2008, surpassing the July's 2025 value of 59.1. That is absolutely correct. Each and every data which is mentioned in the statement is correct. So remember that when you revise, this will give you, it will give you the complete news in one slide only. Next is PMI in India is compiled by S&P Global and published domestically by HSBC, whereas in some countries PMI is released by the national statistical agencies. That is correct. A PMI value of above 50 indicates, PM value of above 50 indicates expansion activity, below 50 indicates contraction activity, and if it is equals to 50, which means no change. If it is equals to 50, it means no change. So the entire data is given on the screen itself. Key factors behind India's PMI surge is strong domestic demand, true. Production linked incentive scheme, true. Global supply chain diversification, China +1, that is true. Festive demand, true. Rupee driven export competitiveness, true. So fourth option is correct. So अगली बार अगर कोई पूछे what are the reasons which have led to the PMI increase, then remember these are the reasons. In August 2025, India's PMI outperformed major global peers. China's PMI was approximately 50.8. That is true. US witnessed contraction at 47.9 and Eurozone witnessed contraction again at 43.7. That is also correct. So except the third statement, rest all the statements are correct. So answer to this particular question is going to be B option. ठीक है जी? Clear हो गया? चलो अगला क्वेश्चन क्या कहता है? So with reference to the RBI's monetary penalty on Bandhan Bank in August 2025, consider the following statements. अगर मैं अगस्त 2025 की बात करूं तो अगस्त 2025 में RBI ने अनाउंस किया था penalty on the Bandhan Bank, and this penalty which was announced by RBI on the Bandhan Bank, it was of what value? The value has been already given in the question. in the first statement, that is penalty value was 44.70 lakh rupees. That is absolutely correct, and it is according to the bank's position as of 31st March 2024. That is also correct, nothing wrong. The next point talks about this penalty is charged under the Banking Regulation Act 1949. That is true. One key violation was the payment of commission based remuneration to certain employees, which is not allowed by RBI. That is true. Another violation involved back-end interventions in account without maintaining proper user-specific audit trials. That is true. The penalty directly impact the customer deposit. No. Penalty is not paid out of the customer deposit. It is paid out of the bank's capital. So answer to this particular question is C option. 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct, but the fifth statement is wrong. Clear ho gaya ji? Moving on to the next question. The next question says, consider the following statements about the NSO's first quarter of 2025-26 GDP estimates, which have been given for the month April to June. India's real GDP growth was recorded at 7.8%. That is absolutely correct, which is highest in the last 5 quarters, and it is significantly above in comparison to the previous year data of 6.5%. That is correct. In sectoral performance, while agriculture sector has witnessed a growth of 3.7%, that is correct. Second is the mining contracted by 3.1%, correct, and it has been reversed from 6.6% expansion in the first quarter of 2024-25. That is also correct. The third statement says manufacturing sector has witnessed a growth of 7.7%. That is true. If I talk about the secondary sector, manufacturing grew 7.7% and construction slowed down to 7.6%. Both the datas are correct. And it is lowest in the last 9 quarters. That is also correct. And if I talk about the utilities, so they were weak at 0.5%. The entire data is correct. The tertiary sector, if I talk about the tertiary sector led overall growth at 9.3%. That is true, with financial, real estate, professional services growing at 9.5%. True. Public administration and defense at 9.8%. That is also correct. On the expenditure side, if I talk about the government, final consumption expenditure, it has rebounded to 7.4% after contraction in the previous fourth quarter. And if I talk about the GFCF grew at 7.8% but moderated from 9.4%, while if I talk about PFCE slowed down to 7% compared to 8.3%. पहले इसके बारे में बात कर लेते हैं. First of all, what I would like to know from you all is the full form of all the terms which have been mentioned on the screen. Full form of all the terms which have been mentioned on the screen. फिर मैं इसके बारे में एक एक करके आपको बता दूंगा ताकि कोई भी गलती आपको ना लगे. ध्यान से सुनिएगा. So the first point, I would start my discussion in this manner. Government final consumption expenditure has rebounded to 7.4% growth, which has shown contraction in the quarter 4 of 2024-25. That is true. Gross fixed capital formation. Over here, gross fixed capital formation has also witnessed a growth of 7.8%, but earlier it was 9.4%. That is also correct. Private final consumption has slowed down to 7%, which was earlier 8.3%. That is also correct. So keeping that in mind, D option is correct. All the data which are given related to NSO is absolutely correct. एक ही स्लाइड में सारा काम कर दिया. रिवाइज कर लेना अगर किसी को याद नहीं है. You can go back after this session, download the PDF and revise it. Moving on to the next. With reference to September 2025 changes announced by National Payment Corporation of India regarding the UPI, consider the following statements. पहली statement क्या कहती है? ध्यान से सुनिएगा. What does the first statement says? The first statement says NPCI raised the per transaction UPI limit to 5 lakhs, but only for selected person to merchant categories such as capital market, insurance, travel, government e-marketplace, collections, and credit card bill payments. Is it true? Is it true? Give me the answer. Is it true, guys? The last point is credit card bill payments. Any idea? Think and then give me the answer. Moving on to the next, the second point says an aggregate daily limit of 10 lakh was introduced for several categories including capital market and all. That is true. ये बिल्कुल सही है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. Jewelry transactions and digital account opening continues to have a lower limit of 2 lakh rupees and daily cap for jewelry payment is 6 lakhs and for opening a new demand deposit is 2 lakhs, but in case of term deposit it can be 5 lakhs. Person to person transaction remain unchanged at 1 lakh rupee per day, ensuring higher limit restrictions, while IPO, in case of you are making the IPO payment, in that particular scenario you can make 5 lakh rupees payment per day. That is true, no problem. Next is NPCI. Next is NPCI has established. NPCI was established back in 2008 in under the Payment and Settlement System Act 2007, is promoted by RBI and Indian Banks Association headquarter in Mumbai. That is true. अब मुझे बताओ, क्या क्रेडिट कार्ड पेमेंट के लिए भी, क्या क्रेडिट कार्ड पेमेंट के लिए भी यू हैव अ लिमिट ऑफ 5 lakhs or 2 lakhs? गिव मी द आंसर. पर ट्रांजेक्शन लिमिट फॉर क्रेडिट कार्ड पेमेंट इज 5 lakhs or 2 lakhs. सोचो एंड गिव मी द आंसर. Is it 5 lakhs? Sure? Okay. Still there is a confusion going on. सोच लो. There is no hurry. Give a second thought. There is no hurry. That means I should give the answer. Chalo. I should give you the answer. The answer says that 5 lakh rupees limit. 5 lakh rupees limit is still existing. It is still existing on all the criteria which have been given. Credit card bill payment can now be made up to 5 lakh rupees per transaction with a maximum limit of 10 lakh rupees in a day. तो 5 लाख तो है, 5 लाख तो है, लेकिन अगर आप पर डे ट्रांजेक्शन की बात करेंगे तो टोटल जो आपकी क्रेडिट कार्ड बिल पेमेंट ट्रांजेक्शन यूपीआई के थ्रू होगी उसकी लिमिट 6 लाख है. रिमेंबर दैट, 6 lakh rupees of value. With reference to the 30th annual general meeting of AMFI held in September 2025, consider the following statement. Sandeep Sikka has been elected as the new chairperson of AMFI, and he has been with Nippon Life Asset Management since 2003, became CEO in 2009, and had also served the earlier AMFI chairman between 2013 to 2015. एक इंफॉर्मेशन बिल्कुल करेक्ट है. विशाल कपूर द न्यू वाइस चेयरपर्सन. इनके अगेंस्ट अगर हम बात करें, विशाल कपूर इज द सीईओ ऑफ बंधन एएमसी, 30 years of experience, chaired ARN committee since 2020, senior role at scheduled commercial banks, Amex, ITC and whatnot. So this is correct. Next is AMFI established in 1995 and its headquarter is in Mumbai. Functions as an apex body of SEBI registered AMCs known for mutual funds Sahi Hai campaign that boosted the retail mutual fund participation. That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. Next, as of August 2025, India's mutual fund industry has crossed 60 lakh crore rupees, has crossed 60 lakh crore rupees asset under management, which has been doubled since 2021. Which has been doubled since 2021. That is absolutely correct. With over 15 crore portfolios and 22,000 crore rupees of monthly SIP. That is true. Recent AMFI initiatives include Mutual Fund Sahi Hai 2.0. That is correct. For smaller towns and rural areas. तो अगर कोई पूछे ये 2.0 किसके लिए? So this is for smaller towns, rural areas, pushing digital onboarding and paperless KYC, enhancing compliance and transparency norms. So keeping that in mind, fifth statement is also correct. So fifth statement is also correct. Then my answer should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means D option is the correct answer. ठीक है जी. Let me remove the footer. I think you're not able to see the options. I'm sorry for that. Hanji. Now I think the options are correct and clear. Moving on to the next question. With reference to the 54th edition of micrometer released by MFIN in September 2025, Consider the following statements. So the total asset under management of NBFC microfinance institutes stood at 1,34,000 crore rupees with a contraction of 16.4% year on year basis and 5.4% decline versus the March 2025 data. That is absolutely correct. The client base has declined from 4.5 crores to 3.8 crores. That is true, which indicates fewer borrowers, but the average loan size has increased by 16.5% to 54,956 rupees. That is correct. Next is debt funding in quarter 1 was around 12,000 crores, down 19.9% year on year basis, with banking contribution over 4/5. That means around 81.9%, followed by non-banking activities and then other. That is also correct. The next is among the states, Bihar leads the outstanding portfolio. That is correct. But Tamil Nadu, West Bengal recorded higher average loan intensity per account exceeding 30,000 rupees. तो ठीक है सर, अगर आपसे कोई पूछे ओवरऑल सबसे ज्यादा आउटस्टैंडिंग पोर्टफोलियो किस स्टेट का है, बिहार का, लेकिन अगर हम बात करें सबसे ज्यादा एवरेज लोन इंटेंसिटी या लोन वैल्यू किसकी है, सो दैट इज तेलंगाना. सो दैट इज करेक्ट. MFIN, the umbrella body of MFI, that is mutual microfinance institutes, recognized by RBI as a self-regulatory organization, was established in 2009, headquartered in Gurugram. Current CEO is Dr. Alok Mishra. I hope this statement is also correct. So keeping that in mind, I would go with D option again. 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry. E option. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E option is correct. All the options given on the screen are absolutely correct with respect to the 54th edition of micrometer released by MFIN in September 2025. Next, with reference to the RBI bulletin on private corporate investment in India, growth in 2024-25 and outlook for 2025-26, consider the following statements. तो RBI का बुलेटिन आया सितंबर 2025 में, उसके अकॉर्डिंग जो आपकी इकोनॉमी को दिमाग में रखते हुए क्या प्रोजेक्शंस दी गई हैं. इन द फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2024-25 टोटल कॉर्पोरेट इन्वेस्टमेंट intentions stood at 4.97 lakh crores, which has declined from the previous year data of 5.74 lakhs, reducing the number of sanctioned projects from 944 to 907. एक data correct है, remember that. The next point says banks and financial institutions, they demand dominant funding source, while 48 companies they raised 97,000 crores via external commercial borrowings. 229 companies mobilized 32,000 crores through equity. That is true. In terms of the project cost distribution, mega projects of value more than 5,000 crore accounted about 25.8%. That is true. Large projects of value 1,000 to 5,000 crores accounted for 37.2%. That is also correct. Next, purpose wise, greenfield projects dominated with 91.6%, and India is on the 4th rank in terms of foreign investment done in the green projects. So remember that in that context also this information is important. Top 5 states include Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. The total 60% of the project cost is sanctioned in these states only. That is also correct. So answer to this particular question would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means again E option is the correct answer. All the statements which are given, they are correct. Moving on to the next one. What does the next question says? With reference to equity mutual funds transforming India's saving landscape 2025, consider the following statement. Equity mutual funds have grown from 0.9% of gross household savings to 6% in 2022-23, and the industry rising asset under management from 6.1 to 65.7 lakh crores. Absolutely correct. Retail participation dominates. By March 2025, 23.5 crores mutual fund accounts existed, 92% retail accounts, supported by 9.2 crores SIP accounts with monthly inflow of around 27,000 crore rupees during the volatile scenarios. That is also correct. Passive investing has gained transactions with passive fund share rising from 6.1 to 17%, and ETF funds also attracting 1.4 lakh crores inflows in the financial year 2024-25. That is also correct. Next, while Maharashtra accounts for over 25% of the total asset under management, that is correct. Empirical analysis suggests that mutual fund flows GDP growth, which means जब आपका GDP growth बढ़ेगा तब आपका mutual funds बढ़ेंगे. So it's empirical analysis suggests that mutual fund flows causes GDP growth. अगर mutual fund हो रहा है तो उसकी वजह से GDP growth होगा नहीं सर, it is the opposite. GDP growth होगा तो GDP growth की वजह से ऐसा देखा जाता है कि म्यूचुअल फंड्स इंक्रीज होंगे. सो फिफ्थ स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग. 1, 2, 3, 4 इज करेक्ट. बी स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट. और 11th क्वेश्चन, फिफ्थ स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग. प्लीज मार्क इट. गेमिंग, इट इज रॉन्ग. इट इज रॉन्ग इन द सेंस कि अगर जीडीपी ग्रोथ बढ़ेगा तो उसकी वजह से म्यूचुअल फंड्स बढ़ेंगे, म्यूचुअल फंड्स की वजह से जीडीपी बढ़ेगी. दैट इज रॉन्ग. नेक्स्ट, with reference to the recent MSME credit and support initiatives, consider the following statements. With reference to MSME credit and support initiatives, please go through with the statements. Stand Up India provides collateral free loan between 10 lakhs to 1 crore for SCs, ST and women entrepreneurs. That is true. Under the revamped Pradhan Mantri Swanidhi scheme, street vendors can access UPI linked credit cards with a 30,000 limit in addition to collateral free working capital and incentives like 7% interest subsidy plus cashbacks. That is also correct. PM Vishwakarma scheme extends concessional credit up to 3 lakh rupees in 2 tranches at 5% interest rate alongside toolkit incentives, skill upgrading, integration of artisans into domestic and global value chains. That is correct. The Credit Fund Trust for MSMEs was set up in 2000. That is correct. By SEBI and Ministry of MSME. That is also correct. Now covers loan up to 20 crores, reducing the lender risk, facilitating easier access to credit. Is this point correct, guys? Is this point correct? Please check it out. Is this point correct? Okay, so this point is wrong because the guarantee value is 10 crores. It is not 20 crores. Remember that. As per Union Budget 2025-26, announced credit cards with 5 lakh rupees limit for micro enterprises, a fund worth 10,000 crores for MSMEs, concessional guarantee fees for startups up to 20 crores, true. Deep tech funds with 20,000 crore allocation, that is also true. So बाकी सब ठीक है. तो आंसर क्या बनेगा? बी ऑप्शन. लेकिन अगर आप CGTMSE के अंदर बात करेंगे, द गारंटी वैल्यू इज 10 crores, इट इज नॉट 20 crores. तो इसे बढ़ाकर अब कितना की है सर? इट इज 10 crores, इट इज नॉट 20 crores. Remember that. ठीक है जी. Moving on to the next one. With reference to the UPI-UPU integration project and India's role at the 28th Universal Postal Congress, consider the following statements. First one, the UPI-UPU integration projects enables individuals abroad to remit money through UPU-linked post offices with a fund credited directly to the UPI-linked accounts in India. Sir, absolutely correct. India pledged $100 million at 28th Universal Postal Congress in Dubai. ये कांग्रेस दुबई में हुई थी, ये तो करेक्ट है. To support postal e-commerce and fintech innovation, that is also correct. But if I talk about the value, it is not $100 million, rather it is $10 million. तो इंडिया ने जो pledge किया है, that is of $10 million, not of $100 million. Remember this. The project aligns with G20 and UN Sustainable Development Goal target of reducing average remittance cost to below 3% by 2030. That is true. The Universal Postal Union was established back in 1874. Its headquarters is established in Bern, and UN Specialized Agency since 1948. Currently, 192 countries are the members, and Japanese head or Japanese individual is the general director. That is also correct. The theme of the 28th Universal Postal Congress held in Dubai was leading change, creating the future, and it adopted the Dubai strategy 2026-29. That is also correct. So keeping this in mind, B option is correct, but The second option is not correct. Pledged value is not $100 million. It is what? So it is $10 million. Moving to the next question. With reference to SEBI's September 2025 reforms on PSU delisting and infrastructure investment trust fund regulations, consider the following statements. The revised PSU delisting norms apply only to public sector banks where the government hold at least 90% of the equity, which exclude banks, NBFCs and insurance companies. Is this correct? Is this correct? Do it exclude banks, NBFCs and insurance companies? Say yes or no. Under the new framework, reverse book building process has been replaced with a fixed price mechanism requiring at least 15% premium over the floor price. ये बिल्कुल सही है. ये बिल्कुल सही है कि अब करंट सिनेरियो में रिवर्स बुक बिल्डिंग हैज बीन रिप्लेस्ड by the fixed price mechanism at least 15% above the floor price. This is correct. For PSU delisting, floor price is now calculated as the higher of what is this VWAP? Any idea? What is this VWAP? Any idea? Anyone? I'm waiting. So it stands for volume weighted average price. So volume weighted average price in the last 52 weeks or the maximum price paid in the past 26 weeks. That is correct. In case of infrastructure investment trust, the minimum investment requirement in the primary market has been reduced to 25 lakhs, aligning with the secondary market targets. That is correct. Or secondary market limits. That is correct. Unit held by related parties, even if they qualify as qualified institutional buyers, are now excluded from the public category of investors under infrastructure investment trust regulations. Is this point correct? Yes, sir. This is absolutely correct. So even if the related parties are QIBs, their holdings are not considered public category as per the latest announcement. So answer to this particular question is D option. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are correct. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया, समझ आ गया? कोई डाउट, कोई दिक्कत, कोई परेशानी है तो पूछ लो. दिस इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. लेकिन फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट में अभी भी मुझे डाउट है. इज दिस स्टेटमेंट विच इज गिवन ऑन द स्क्रीन, इज इट करेक्ट या रॉन्ग है? एक बार सोचो इस पॉइंट को. मैं आपको बताता हूं. सर सेकेंडरी मार्केट का रेगुलेटर जो कि सेबी है, इट हैज पुट इन प्लेस सिंप्लीफाइड रूल्स फॉर voluntary delisting of PSUs where the government holding is 90% or more. The notification was issued on, I think, 1st of September 2025, and these rules, they do not apply on banks, NBFCs and insurance companies even if the government holding is greater than 90%. Remember this. ठीक है जी, it is correct. Fifth statement बिल्कुल correct है बेटा. It is बिल्कुल correct. They are excluded. I'm not saying included. They are not included. True. They are excluded. True. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt till this point? Any doubt till this point? Anyone? एक बार दोबारा सुन लेते हैं. फिफ्थ स्टेटमेंट जिसको गलत लग रही है उसको मैं बताता हूं. When we talk about this fifth statement which has been put on your screen, even if the related party is a qualified institutional buyer, their shareholdings will not be considered as a part of public category and they are excluded when calculating the company's free float. तो why related parties QIB को exclude किया गया? पहला, preventing artificial fulfillment of public holding. दूसरा रीजन था preventing circumvention of regulation, ensuring genuine liquidity and price discovery and maintaining the fair markets. So it is not included. So keeping that in mind, it is correct. सही है. तो आंसर क्या होगा? That will be D option. Next, 15th होना चाहिए था ना. चलो कोई बात नहीं, एक क्वेश्चन आपको एक्स्ट्रा मिल जाएगा, कोई बात नहीं. The question says with reference to the SHORE project, which stands for Strengthening Coastal Resilience and the Economy, consider the following statements. The World Bank approved a loan of $212.64 billion in September 2025 for phase 1, which is a total project cost of $850 million. That is correct. Implementing agencies will be Tamil Nadu Green Climate Company and Karnataka Eco Restoration Society. That is also correct. Third statement says the project targets protection and restoration of about 30,000 hectares of seascapes, including mangrove plantation and all. That is true. Tamil Nadu, one of the beneficiary states, was the first state in India to ban single-use plastic in 2019. This is correct. Remember this. The SHORE project loan is being financed by the International Development Association. No, sir. It is not financed by the International Development Association. Rather, it is financed by IBRD. Remember that. It is financed by IBRD, not by IDA. Both are the part of World Bank Group only. Total tenure of repayment is 23 years, which include the grace period of 6.5 years. This is correct. ये वाला डेटा बिल्कुल सही है, लेकिन जो लेंडिंग हुई है that is done by IBRD, not by IDA. So keeping that in mind, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is correct, which means B option is the correct answer. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, absolutely correct. Next, with reference to PV Narasimha Rao Memorial Award for Economics 2025, we have to consider the following statement. The 2025 award was given to Dr. Manmohan Singh. The award was received by his wife. That is correct. And it was presented by the former Vice Chairperson of Planning Commission. The name is Montague Singh Ahluwalia. Second is Dr. Manmohan Singh, while serving as India's Finance Minister in 1991, during balance of payment crisis, launched reforms including end of license raj, FDI liberalization, tariff cut, establishment of NSE in 1992. That is correct. We call it as LPG reforms. During his tenure, Prime Minister oversaw the enactment of major welfare laws such as Manrega, RTI, Right to Education, and National Food Security Act. That is also correct. The award is presented, or it is instituted. The award is instituted by PV Narasimha Rao Memorial Foundation, Hyderabad, whose president is Montague Singh Ahluwalia. No, sir. The president is not Montague Singh Ahluwalia. The president is K. Ramachandra. President is K. Ramachandra. So this is wrong. Notable past recipients of this award include Ratan Tata, Dalai Lama. That is correct. So they all are included in the past. That is also correct. 1, 2, 3, 5 are correct. So keeping that in mind, B option is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding the GDP and credit forecast for financial year 2025-26 according to ICRA and the other institutions. So ICRA projected that India's GDP will grow for 2025-26 at 6.5%, supported by GST rationalization, income tax relief, strong Q1 growth of 6.7%, 6.7% in the first quarter. That is correct. लेकिन अगर हम फर्स्ट क्वार्टर के ग्रोथ की बात करें, that was 7.8%. 7.8% if we compare it on quarter basis, but ठीक है, year on year basis पे this is the correct data. Bank credit is expected to grow by 10.4 to 11.3%, 19 to 20.5 lakh crore rupees. NBFCs की अगर हम बात करें तो in case of NBFCs it will be 15 to 17%, around 15 to 17%, which is lower than 24% in 2024. That is true. कोई problem नहीं है. Among the international agencies, IMF projected that Indian GDP will grow by 6.4%, citing easing inflation and resilient macro environment, while OECD projected 6.3%. Is it correct? बताओ जरा, अगर आप लोग कल मेरी क्लास में प्रेजेंट थे, then I'm expecting that this point should be answered by you. This point should be answered by you. देखो, जब सितंबर में ये न्यूज आई थी, उस समय तक OECD का जो प्रोजेक्शन था that was 6.3% only, but अब इस 6.3% को recently, अगर मैं कहूँ few few days ago it has been revised और इसे अब रिवाइज करके कितना कर दिया सर नाउ द प्रोजेक्शन is 6.7%. Now the projection is 6.7%. Remember that. RBI estimates 6.5% attributing सर अभी मैं पुराने डेटा की बात करूं तो सही है लेकिन अब जो RBI का नया डेटा है that is what? RBI का जो नया डेटा है that is what? Give me the answer. RBI का जो नया डेटा है that is what? Give me the answer. I'm waiting. अरे कल पढ़ाया है अब तो बता दो 6.7 या 6.8? Is it 6.7 or 6.8? Give me the answer. According to RBI, Indian GDP will now grow by 6.8%. तो ये वाला पॉइंट भी हमारा सही हो गया. No problem with that. Fitch rating revised its forecast upward to 6.9%. Fitch की अगर हम बात करें तो Fitch के अकॉर्डिंग इंडिया की जो GDP है that is going to grow by what percent? So India's GDP is going to grow by 6.9%. तो ये सही है. तो मैं इन सारी स्टेटमेंट्स में लेटेस्ट डेटा फिल कर देता हूं so that when you will be going through with this particular news you will be in a position to remember it. So उसके हिसाब से अगर हम चले इस डेटा के हिसाब से अगर हम चले तो उस डेटा के हिसाब से हमारी सारी की सारी ऑप्शंस क्या हो जाएंगी करेक्ट हो जाएंगी. अगर आप ध्यान से देखो तो मैंने सारे डेटा को रिवाइज कर दिया. 6.8 करेक्ट है, 6.9 करेक्ट है, 6.7 करेक्ट है, 7.8% करेक्ट है. ठीक है जी, क्लियर होगी बात. तो आंसर क्या होगा? सो द आंसर टू दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन वुड बी व्हाट? सो द आंसर टू दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन वुड बी सी ऑप्शन, दैट इज ऑल ऑफ देम. मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट वन. With reference to Government of India, Asian Development Bank Sustainable Tourism Loan Projects in Uttarakhand, consider the following statement. अब उत्तराखंड को भी लोन दिया हाल ही में एशियन डेवलपमेंट बैंक में. अब वो एशियन डेवलपमेंट बैंक ने जो लोन दिया है वो किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में दिया है उसको समझते हैं. सर जो लोन दिया दैट हैज बीन एक्सटेंडेड ऑफ अ वैल्यू $126.42 मिलियन. अभी हमने जो पहले पढ़ा था दैट वाज रिलेटेड टू असम. उसके बाद जो हमने पढ़ा दैट वाज रिलेटेड टू वर्ल्ड बैंक, है ना. एक शोर का पढ़ा 212, अब पढ़ा 126 और उससे पहले जो वैल्यू पड़ी थी दैट वाज गिवन बाय एशियन डेवलपमेंट बैंक. एंड दिस लोन इज गिवन फॉर तेरी लेक रीजन इन तेरी गढ़वाल उत्तराखंड. ये तो बिल्कुल सही है सर, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. The next point says the project aims to promote sustainable, inclusive, climate resilient tourism. True. Over 87,000 residents and nearly 2.7 million tourists annually are expected to have the benefit. That is true. Key interventions include livelihood matching grants, universal access designs for persons with disability, local disaster management pilots. That's true. The loan was signed in September 2025, aligned with Uttarakhand's strategy to take Tehri Lake a diversified all-weather tourism hub while ensuring resilience against climate risk like floods, landslides and cloudbursts. That is true. So answer will be all the options are correct. C option is the correct answer. अगला क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. अगला क्वेश्चन क्या कहता है सर? The next question says as per the small business credit report, small business credit report, the report which is based on borrowings up to 5 crore. So जिन भी organizations ने 5 करोड़ से कम का एक्सपोजर है, लोन है, उनके बारे में एक रिपोर्ट प्रेजेंट की गई. दिस रिपोर्ट वाज प्रेजेंटेड बाय SEBI along with CRIF. I hope you remember this. अब सारे के सारे डेटा को पढ़ते हैं, ध्यान दीजिएगा. डेटा says that the first point, small business include formal enterprises borrowing in business name, sole proprietors borrowing in personal name for business, and an overlap segment of proprietors borrowing in both are included, but their exposure should be up to 5 crores. That is correct. Agla, sole proprietor account for the majority, that is around 78% of the total outstanding portfolio, while the enterprise contributed to the left 22%. तो proprietor plus enterprises, मतलब एक इंडिविजुअल है, उसने बिजनेस लोन लिया खुद, या फिर उसने इंडिविजुअल ने लोन लिया बिजनेस लोन प्लस उसने लोन लिया अपनी एंटरप्राइजेस के लिए, दोनों को हमने इंक्लूड किया, तो दिस इज 78%. पोर्टफोलियो एट रिस्क trends indicate enterprises they have lowest stress of 1.1%. Sole proprietors they have the highest stress of 1.9%. That is also correct. Major loan product for enterprises are working capital, which is approximately 54%, whereas sole proprietors they have a balance लोन, बिजनेस लोन्स भी लिए हैं उन्होंने, लोन अगेंस्ट प्रॉपर्टी भी लिया है, कमर्शियल व्हीकल भी लिया, लेकिन अगर मैं बात करता हूं एंटरप्राइजेस की, उन्होंने जो मेजॉरिटी लोन लिया दैट इज फॉर working capital. The study definition of small business aligns directly with the government's MSME classification. नहीं सर, MSME classification से align नहीं है. It is only and only on the basis of the exposure. If the exposure is up to 5 crores, उन सब की लिस्ट बनाकर उनकी बात की गई है. Regarding the appointment of L. Satya Srinivas as the India's Executive Director at Asian Development Bank, इससे पहले अगर मैं बात करूं, मुझे कुछ आंसर्स देना. IRDAI के चेयरमैन का नाम बताइए, न्यू अपॉइंटमेंट है. एनडीबी के नए वाइस प्रेसिडेंट का नाम बताइए, न्यू अपॉइंटमेंट है. उसके साथ साथ एक और नाम याद था, IMF, इंडियाज ईडी एट IMF, उनका भी नाम बताइए. फिर आई विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस क्वेश्चन. अजय सेठ इज द चेयरपर्सन ऑफ IRDAI. एनडीबी के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट इज राजीव रंजन and IMF executive director is Urjit Patel. Is it correct? Is it correct? ठीक है. Srinivas, an IRS officer of 1991 batch, has been appointed as the ED at ADB, breaking the unusual dominance of IS officers. That is true. The next point says he will represent India and other countries which include Bangladesh, Bhutan, Laos, Tajikistan and तुर्कमेनिस्तान. दैट इज ट्रू. लेकिन अगर हम IMF के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात करें, इंडिया के साथ साथ उर्जित पटेल विल रिप्रेजेंट बांग्लादेश एज वेल एज भूटान एज वेल एज श्रीलंका. सोच लो एक बार, इसमें कुछ ऐड करना है या कुछ डिलीट करना है बता देना. His tenure is fixed until 28th of February 2026. That is true. Prior to his ADB appointment, Srinivas served as the chief negotiator for the EU e-commerce trade deal as well as led free trade agreement negotiation with UK and other agreements. That is true. India is the third largest shareholder of ADB, and as of April 2025, ADB has committed $59.5 billion in the sovereign investment and $9.1 billion in the sovereign lending. ये तो सही है, but India is not the third largest. India is the fourth largest. India is the fourth largest shareholder. जापान, चाइना, यूएस के बाद जो फोर्थ रैंक है दैट इज विद इंडिया. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया. हाँ, ये पॉइंट आपने सही पकड़ा कि सर ये जो आपने लिखा ही विल रिप्रेजेंट बांग्लादेश, भूटान, ताजिकिस्तान एंड तुर्कमेनिस्तान. क्या उसमें लाओस हो सकता है? सर लाओस क्या हमारे उस पर्टिकुलर एरिया का पार्ट है? लाओस बताओ सर, एक बार सोचो गाइस, एक बार किसी ने सही पॉइंट आउट किया, बताना जरा. आई एम स्टिल वेटिंग. सोच लीजिए, then I'll move ahead. लाओस इज द पार्ट. जिसको लग रहा है कि लाओस पार्ट नहीं है, मैं उन्हें बता दूं, लाओस is also represented by India only. So keeping that in mind, you need to remember the names of these countries. यहाँ पे अगर अगली बार आपको कंफ्यूजन होगा, so this information will help you. ठीक है जी, क्लियर है? Any other doubt? Anyone? अच्छा, आपने मुझे IMF के ED के बारे में नहीं बताया. IMF ED will represent how many countries? Bangladesh, Bhutan, Laos, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan is correct. Now what about Urjit Patel? Still waiting. So अगर हम उर्जित पटेल जी की बात करें, he is appointed as executive director at IMF according to the orders which have been given, and he's been appointed for the tenure of 3 years. But the question over here is he will be representing, हाँ तो नाम बताओ ना वो 4 कंट्रीज कौन कौन सी हैं. आप कह रहे हो 4 कंट्रीज हैं, इंडिया है, ठीक है, इंडिया के साथ और 4 कंट्रीज कौन सी हैं? सर इंडिया के साथ बांग्लादेश, भूटान और श्रीलंका ही है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. सो कीपिंग दिस इन माइंड 1 2 3 4 इज करेक्ट, लेकिन 5th स्टेटमेंट रॉन्ग है बिकॉज इंडिया इज द 4th लार्जेस्ट शेयर होल्डर ऑफ एडीबी. नेक्स्ट, with reference to NABARD centralized digital credit infrastructure for regional rural banks, which of the following statements are correct? Which of the following statements are correct? तो आपको याद हो तो NABARD has talked about centralized digital credit infrastructure for RRBs. Even NABARD was in news related to SSE, याद है? This is for cooperative banks. इस पे भी question है, we'll solve that, don't worry. But if I talk about the RRB, so CDCI platform aims to digitize entire credit life cycle from application, processing, risk assessment, approval, dispersal to monitor, thereby improving the turnaround times and reducing the manual errors. That is correct. The launch of CDCI is a part of One State, One RRB initiative. That is true. 26 RRBs in states, 2 RRBs in union territories. That is true. CDCI will integrate backend systems like CIBIL, Aadhaar, land records, enabling faster verification through. NABARD will support RRBs by designing new loan products, including MSME friendly products. That is true. CDCI platform is designed exclusively to help RRBs compete with PSU banks and urban cooperative banks, while NBFCs and MFIs remain unaffected by this initiative. So, ये जो initiative है, this initiative will primarily help RRBs, but in order to help them to compete with NBFCs, to compete with microfinance institutions, not to compete with PSUs. तो अगर मैं इसको हटा दूं ये वाले पार्ट को, इतनी स्टेटमेंट, तो compete with यहां से पढ़े NBFC and microfinance institutions, तो ये करेक्ट है, वरना ये रॉन्ग है. सो आंसर इज गोइंग टू बी ए ऑप्शन. तो भैया हम ये नहीं चाहते कि आरआरबी शुड कंपीट विद पीएसयू बैंक्स. मेजॉरिटी आरआरबीज के जो स्पॉन्सर बैंक्स हैं दे आर पीएसयूज ओनली, तो उनके साथ कंपटीशन थोड़ा ना करा रहे. वी आर हेल्पिंग देम टू कंपीट विद एनबीएफसीज एज वेल एज माइक्रो फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूट्स. ठीक है जी, गलत समझ आ गया, ठीक है. अगला क्वेश्चन, विद रेफरेंस टू आरबीआई's 21 लाख पेनल्टी ऑन फोनपे, which of the following statements are correct? Which of the following statements are correct? तो क्या कहती हैं स्टेटमेंट्स, ध्यान दीजिएगा. पहला पॉइंट, द फाइन वॉज इम्पोज्ड फॉर एस्क्रो अकाउंट शॉर्टफॉल एंड फेलियर टू रिपोर्ट डिस्क्रिपेंसीज इन वायलेशन. अच्छा, आपको अगर याद हो पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर को एक एस्क्रो अकाउंट मेंटेन करना पड़ता, एंड फ्रॉम दिस अकाउंट पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू मेक द सेटलमेंट्स विद द मर्चेंट्स, एंड इसका जो अकाउंट बैलेंस है दैट शुड बी एटलीस्ट इक्वलेंट टू द आउटस्टैंडिंग और द लायबिलिटी of the payment aggregator. So first point is correct. PhonePe is a semi-closed PPI issuer and escrow account. Semi-closed PPI issuer मतलब prepaid payment instruments. PPI issue the wallets. उन wallets की मदद से you can pay anywhere you want to. But semi-closed means it do not allow you to withdraw cash from those wallets or maybe from the prepaid payment instrument cards which can be issued. तो जो ओपन प्रीपेड पेमेंट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं दैट कैन बी इशूड ओनली एंड ओनली बाय द बैंक्स, बट द पेमेंट सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स दे कैन ऑफर ईदर क्लोज्ड पीपीआई. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू विजिट अ मॉल and there you get a card which will be used only and only to make the payments on the food court itself. So that is a closed prepaid payment instrument जिसका आप सिर्फ और सिर्फ यूज करेंगे to make the payments there only. Semi closed is you can use it to make payments anywhere, but you cannot withdraw cash. Open में you can withdraw cash as well. Penalty was imposed under the Payment Settlement Act, which empowers RBI to do so. Past similar penalties include Paytm Payment Bank for KYC and compliance lapses, Amazon for non-compliance with escrow account norms. This is also correct. PhonePe, fine imposed on PhonePe relates to non-compliance with regulations for bank-issued open PPIs and not semi-closed PPIs. ये तो गलत है ना सर. PPI तो इशू नहीं कर सकता है, ओपन PPI इशू नहीं कर सकता, ये मैंने आपको बहुत डिटेल में बता दिया. तो उससे अगेंस्ट तो आपकी पेनल्टी चार्ज होगी नहीं. आपकी जो पेनल्टी चार्ज हुई है वो किस वजह से? पहला, शॉर्टफॉल एंड फेलियर टू रिपोर्ट डिस्क्रिपेंसीज इन वायलेशन of RBI regulations on prepaid payment instruments. एक तो भैया आपका escrow account का balance shortfall था, plus आपने violate किया PPI regulations को, which is semi-closed PPI regulations. No, it do not include FEMA because the reason is very obvious. PhonePe जो आपको transactions provide कर रहा है, that do not involve cross border transactions. अगर cross border transactions involve नहीं है तो वहां पे ये values या ये जो point आप raise करना चाह रहे हैं, that will not come up. Regarding the RBI's new microsite for Indian banknotes 2025, the microsite indiancurrency.rbi.org.in replaced the earlier पैसा बोलता है microsite to provide public friendly information on banknotes, design features and security. That is true. Users can now view virtually in 360-degree rotation, helping to identify the counterfeit notes. That is true. Multimedia resources like video, audio clips, animation make site accessible for rural users. That is true. A dedicated section provide guidance on exchange of old or damaged notes and explain the RBI clean note policy. True. According to RBI's annual report, the number of counterfeit notes detected in the banking system has increased by 14%. Counterfeit notes, they have not increased, rather they have decreased by 14%. आज की डेट में काउंटरफिट नोट बनाने से ज्यादा लोगों का ध्यान है कि किस तरह से साइबर क्राइम किया जाए, किस तरह से आपके अकाउंट से पैसा निकाला जाए. सो दिस इज डिक्रीज्ड, इट हैज नॉट इंक्रीज. सो कीपिंग दैट इन माइंड, ए ऑप्शन इज करेक्ट. अगला क्वेश्चन देखो. व्हाट डज द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन सेज? लेट्स सी द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. RBI's master direction on payment aggregator, which of the following statements are correct? The master direction consolidates all the earlier directions. That is true. Banks, that is scheduled commercial banks, small finance banks, do not require separate RBI authorization to operate as payment aggregators, while the non-banking NBFCs or non-banking entities, they must apply online, obtain no objection certificate if registered elsewhere, and meet the net worth requirement, including the convertible preference shares. What will be your answer? What will be your answer? So this is absolutely correct. Fit and proper criteria applies to the promoters or directors in control require RBI approval. That is true. Next is payment aggregator cross-border rules mandate separate inward and outward collection accounts, prohibit netting off, impose a 25 lakh per transaction cap. That is true. Payment aggregators are allowed to operate marketplaces. No sir, they are not allowed to operate marketplaces. So this is wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4 is correct. That will be the correct answer. ठीक है. जब मैंने ये क्वेश्चन बनाया ना, I felt still many things are left with respect to the payment aggregator. तो I have come up with one more question. और इस क्वेश्चन में I have 7 options for you. इसमें से चूज करते हैं which all options are correct. तो I just wanted to give you everything ताकि आपका कुछ मिस ना हो. So keeping that in mind, I have come up with this. एक चीज मैंने अभी मिस की है, that is related to payment aggregator net worth. What should be company's net worth applying for payment aggregator license? Give me the answer. So the master direction consolidates. That is true. Scheduled commercial banks. That is true. Promoter directors. That is true. Payment aggregator must maintain a dedicated escrow account. Core portion, which means minimum average balance over 26 fortnights, will earn interest, not the entire deposit value. Permitted credits include customer inflow, refunds, payment aggregator commissions, transfer from other payment aggregators. That is true. No problem with that. That is true. No problem with that. Payment aggregator cross-border rules mandate inward collection accounts, outward collection accounts, two separate accounts, and inflows and outflows, they should be handled separately. No netting can be done. That is true. Payment aggregator must implement grievance redressal, refund policies, chargeback mechanism, and other scenarios. That is true. Remember that. Data localization should be done in India. That means your data should be in India only. Ensure merchant onboarding KYC, including simplified KYC for merchants. तो simplified KYCs कब होगा merchants के लिए? जब domestic turnover less than 40 lakhs है and export turnover is less than 5 lakhs. That is true. Payment aggregators are allowed to operate marketplaces and ATM PIN may be used as authentication. नहीं sir, They are not allowed to operate as marketplaces. So 7th statement is wrong, rest all are correct. और 15 करोड़ आप मुझे बता रहे हैं पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर का नेटवर्थ. इज इट करेक्ट एवरीवन? इज इट करेक्ट एवरीवन? तो फिर चेंज क्या हुआ? व्हाट वाज द अर्लियर नेटवर्थ? व्हाट वाज द अर्लियर नेटवर्थ? एनी आइडिया? पहले भी तो 15 करोड़ ही था. ठीक है, मैं बताता हूं. इफ वी टॉक अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट, वी नीड टू रिमेंबर that now in case of payment aggregator, if we are talking about a payment aggregator, a company which is looking forward to get a payment aggregator license, the net worth of the company applying for the license, the net worth of the company applying for the license should be of what value? Should be of what value? You are saying 15, somebody is saying 25. What is the answer, guys? Okay, so there have been no changes to the prescribed capital requirements for the PA authorization. Net worth is 15 crores at the time of application, but the requirement to attain net worth of 25 crores by the end of third financial year after the grant of authorization. तो याद रखना 15 करोड़ is the value which you need to remember. और 3 सालों में ये नेटवर्थ कितनी होनी चाहिए? 25 करोड़. अगर आपको याद हो, कल मैंने एक बात की थी, SEBI has increased the net worth requirement, net owned fund requirement from not net worth, net owned fund. यहाँ पे जो वर्ड है that is net worth. I am talking about net owned fund. तो अगर हम net owned fund की बात करें, SEBI ने recently किसका 50 से 75 किया? Any idea? SEBI has increased it from 50 to 75 for which organization? Any idea, guys? Anyone? Kindly give me the answers. हाँ, वो पॉइंट तो ठीक है गौरव, वो तो हमने सही मार्क कर लिया. कस्टोडियंस, दैट इज करेक्ट. चलो अगला क्वेश्चन. RBI regulatory review mechanism and framework for formulation of regulations. Consider the following statements. Regulatory Review Cell, effective from 1st October 2025, conducts systematic review of all the RBI regulations every 5 to 7 years. Enforcement actions coordinates with the advisory group on regulation for external expertise. ये बिल्कुल सही है. That is absolutely correct. Next statement talks about what? The advisory group includes external banking, insurance and finance experts, which has a tenure of 3 years and it can be renewed by 2 more years. That is true. The framework for the formulation of regulation mandates public consultation of at least 21 days. That means public feedback के लिए 21 दिन RBI वेट करेगा, ड्राफ्ट देगा, 21 दिन के बाद फाइनल गाइडलाइंस देगा. Impact assessment under the framework evaluates potential effects on banks, NBFCs, fintech, market participants, economic operational feasibility before finalizing the regulations. बिल्कुल सर, ये चेक करना होगा RBI को, तब जाकर RBI को गाइडलाइंस फाइनलाइज करनी होगी. नेक्स्ट, द फ्रेमवर्क अप्लाइज टू इंटरनल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव, procedural and entity specific. No. If any amendment is entity specific or it is internal administrative specific, then in that case आपको ये पूरे का पूरा flow follow नहीं करना, where you will be coming up with draft, waiting for 21 days and then coming up. No. Regulation enforced prior to framework remain valid. Non-adherence to the consultation and impact assessment procedures invalidates existing regulations. नहीं सर, जो existing है उन पे कोई असर नहीं पड़ेगा, लेकिन हाँ अब से जो RBI कोई भी चेंज करेगा, कोई भी पॉलिसी, कोई भी रेगुलेशन, कोई भी नोटिफिकेशन, उसका यही स्टैंडर्ड प्रोसेस है. पहले ड्राफ्ट दो, ड्राफ्ट देने के बाद पब्लिक का फीडबैक, फीडबैक के बाद एनालिसिस, फीडबैक रिक्वायर्ड है तो चेंजेस इंक्लूड कर लो एंड देन गिव द फाइनल गाइडलाइंस. अगर फीडबैक बहुत ज्यादा है देन अगेन कम अप विद द ड्राफ्ट एंड देन कम अप विद द फाइनल गाइडलाइंस. मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट, रिगार्डिंग द Bima Sugam India Federation website launched by IRDAI in September 2025, consider the following statement. Bima Sugam India Federation was launched by Ajay Seth, the chairperson of IRDAI. Headquarters is at Hyderabad, Telangana. That is true. It is a part of India's digital public infrastructure initiative. That is again true. The portal provides one-stop platform for life, health, motor, general insurance. याद है? Policy bazaar, comparison, analysis, सब कुछ है. BSIF initial phase function as an information and guidance hub with full functional or full transactional capabilities expected from December 2025. That is true. BSIF is jointly supported by LIC, Life Insurance Council, and General Insurance Council, serving as a marketplace. That is true. BSIF initiative is unrelated to India's. No, sir. It is related to India's target of insurance for all by 2047. So it is basically a step taken in the same direction. So keeping that in mind, fifth statement is wrong. Otherwise, all the statements are correct. ठीक है जी, याद आ गया? ठीक है, बहुत बढ़िया. Ankit, moving on to the next question. According to the S&P Global India research report released in September 2025, which of the following statements are correct? S&P projects that India's real GDP growth is expected to be 6.5%, same as that of the financial year 2024-25. That is true. Positive factors include monsoon, lower crude oil, income tax concessions, anticipated monetary policy easing by RBI, strong domestic demand, making India's growth largely domestic driven. That is true. Risk identified include geopolitical tensions, trade policy uncertainties, oil volatility. That is true. Growth in the financial year 2025-26 is expected to be primarily export related. Growth in the financial year 2025-26 is primarily export led. नहीं सर, अगर export led होता तो इंडिया अब तक बर्बाद हो गया होता. So it is domestic demand led. इंडिया में जो growth है, that is because of domestic demand, not because of export. This is wrong. The report highlights that India is likely to remain fastest growing major economy in the world. That is true. So answer is going to be B option. 1, 2, 3, 5 are correct. Fourth statement is wrong. Next, regarding the multiple scheme framework introduced by PFRDA, we have NPS, we have UPS, if you remember. So regarding that, we have a question. Let's try to answer this particular question. अच्छा, मैंने ना आपको ना 3 स्कीम्स पढ़ाई थी, अगर आपको याद हो. एक मैंने आपको पढ़ाया था MSF, एक मैंने आपको पढ़ाया था NPS, और एक मैंने आपको पढ़ाया था UPS. Yes or no? Do you remember this? Do you guys remember this? Say yes or no. थोड़ी सी इस पे बात कर लें. ठीक है, थोड़ी सी बात कर लेते हैं इस पे. अगर हम इस पॉइंट पे चले तो MSF जिस पे हम यहां बात कर रहे हैं, दैट इज बेसिकली नहीं याद आ रहा. एनीवन, किस किस को याद है? जस्ट गिव मी यस सर. सोच लो भाई. अच्छा, what is the difference between UPS and NPS? What is the difference between UPS and NPS? Any idea? Auto active. मैं तो एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था कि आपको बहुत अच्छे से याद होगा. चलो कोई बात, I'll help you. So National Pension Scheme was introduced back in 2004, mandatory for central government employees as well as for the state government employees. Sorry, mandatory for central government employee when it was launched, and later on it was open for all the citizens. Regulator is obviously PFRDA. Objective is to provide retirement savings via defined contribution. तो आप हर साल हर महीने अपनी इनकम का कुछ हिस्सा एनपीएस में डालते हैं, और जो एनपीएस है दैट अमाउंट is invested, that amount is invested in the market. It is market linked returns, जहाँ पे investment will be done in E class, G class, C class assets, which will depend on your age. Up to 35 years of age, equity will be high. Then from 35 years onwards, equity का share कम होता जाएगा and government security share will increase. G class assets will increase. There is tier 1 as well as tier 2 accounts. Tier 1 withdrawal is restricted in case of central government employee, and tier 2 it is voluntary saving and it is flexible withdrawal. Whenever you want, you can withdraw it. Multiple scheme framework is basically introduced recently, and unified pension scheme is to replace or to give more window for the government employees who are included under NPS. So promises a minimum assured pension, that is 50% of the last drawn basic pay. Unlike the market link NPS, government will contribute to the ensured guaranteed payouts, tries to balance the fiscal sustainability as well as the pension security like we had the earlier old pension system. ये है मेजर बात जो आपको समझनी है, ठीक है जी. अब multiple scheme framework allows non-government national pension scheme subscribers to hold multiple schemes under a single PRAN, which can be managed across different CRAs. PRAN, CRA, सुना ये words? Any idea, guys? What is this PRN, PRANS? What is CRA? Any idea? These are technical terms with respect to the pension wala part. It is permanent retirement account number, and the other one is Central Record Keeping Agency, if I'm not wrong. Okay. PFRDA mandates all schemes to include low risk, moderate risk, and high risk variants, with high risk equity allocation allowed up to 100% for all schemes. Allowed up to 100% for all schemes. Is it correct? No, sir. It is not allowed up to 100% for all schemes, but not all schemes. It will include all the variants, but some variants के case में 100% equity allowed नहीं है. So this is wrong. Next is subscribers can freely switch schemes after 15 years vesting period, while before 15 years switching is limited. That is correct. आप जो switching है वो नहीं कर सकते पहले 15 साल, उसके बाद you are allowed to do the switching. MSF provisions apply only to tier 1, whereas tier 2 account remain outside. No, it applies to tier 2 also. Remember that in case of scheme wind up and no choice is given, the subscriber is automatically shifted to tier 1 auto choice, that is LC50 scheme. I hope आपको याद होगा 35 years वाला format जो मैंने आपको पढ़ाया था. So answer to this particular question would be D option. 1, 3, 5 are correct. Second and fourth statements are wrong. Done है? कोई doubt नहीं? बढ़िया. Next, consider the following statement regarding NPS, old and MSF and UPS for central government employees and retirees. Subscriber who fail to switch to UPS by 30th September 2025 will automatically included under the UPS, जहां पे आपको एक assured pension मिलेगा 50% of your basic pay. ये assurance मिलेगा from the government. Second is UPS is a defined benefit government backed scheme, unlike NPS, which are defined contribution schemes linked to the market returns. That is true. इसमें तो जो आपको return मिलेगा that will be on the basis of the market scenarios. NPS MSF allows multiple schemes under one PRAN, free switching after 15 years and higher equity exposure up to 100%, whereas पुराने में अगर हम बात करें तो पहले जो cap था that was different, but अब MSF के अंदर you have a cap or you have a capacity that you can invest up to 100% in equity. ये allowed है सब schemes के लिए नहीं. यहाँ पे क्या लिखा था? It is allowed up to 100% for all schemes. No, it is allowed 100% only in case of MSF. UPS provides flexibility to switch between different pension funds or schemes after 15 years, similar to NPS and MSF. No, UPS does not allow switching. It is a standard government pension scheme. You cannot switch in case of UPS. Fiscal implication of UPS are higher for government due to guaranteed pension liability, while NPS scheme are primarily subscriber contribution driven. तो भैया अब जो fiscal burden है गवर्नमेंट का वो यूपीएस के केस में ज्यादा है, सो दैट इज ट्रू. सो आंसर क्या बन जाएगा सर? आंसर विल बी 1, 2, 3 एंड 5. दैट इज बी ऑप्शन. क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है हरिनी सर इन फर्स्ट ऑप्शन? दोज हु फॉल टू स्विच टू एनपीएस विल बी दोज हु फेल टू स्विच टू यूपीएस. नहीं, देखो जो लोग आज एनपीएस में है, रिमेंबर दैट, जो लोग आज एनपीएस में है और वो गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज है, दे विल ऑटोमेटिकली स्विच टू यूपीएस बाय 30 सितंबर 2025. दैट इज अ पॉइंट. ये पॉइंट है, ठीक है ना. एनपीएस में हो तभी तो यूपीएस में जाओगे. डायरेक्टली यूपीएस में कैसे चले जाओगे? डायरेक्टली यूपीएस में कैसे चले जाओगे? एंड दिस इज मैंडेटरी फॉर द गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज. क्लियर हो गया? Is this point clear now? Shall I move ahead? So if you will not exercise your option, then you will go from NPS to UPS automatically by 30th of September 2025. चूज कर लो ना. अगर आप चूज नहीं करोगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली शिफ्ट हो जाएगा. दैट इज व्हाट दे आर सेइंग इन केस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज. In case of government employees, automatic shift हो जाए. Is it clear gaming? चलो, let's move on to the next question. ज्यादा टाइम लग गया इन क्वेश्चंस पे. आगे क्वेश्चन में बढ़ते हैं. Regarding the interoperable regulatory sandbox in India, consider the following statements. Interoperable regulatory sandbox provide a single window platform for testing financial innovation that fall under multiple regulatory jurisdictions such as banking, insurance, security, pension. True. Principal regulator is determined solely based on the applicant's preference, while associate regulators provide optional guidance. Is this point correct? Is this point correct? कि सर अगर हम बात करते हैं प्रिंसिपल रेगुलेटर इज डिटरमाइंड सोली बेस्ड ऑन द एप्लीकेंट्स प्रेफरेंस. क्या आप प्रेफर कर सकते हो? कैन यू फिल द प्रेफरेंस दैट आई वांट माय प्रिंसिपल रेगुलेटर टू बी आरबीआई? नो सर, इट विल डिपेंड दैट योर प्रोडक्ट, योर ऐप, योर इनोवेशन falls under which of the organization's maximum rules and regulations. तो उसके बेसिस पे होगा. You cannot choose it, so that is wrong. Moving on to the next one. Fintechs, banks, NBFCs, insurers, then firms can participate, including foreign entities with IFSCA acting as a PR for the foreign applications. ये बिल्कुल सही है सर. अगर आप foreign applicant है, IFSCA will be for sure your principal regulator. Applications are submitted on continuous on-tap basis via RBI Fintech department. Fees are generally exempted unless mandated by the PR's sandbox. ये भी बिल्कुल ठीक है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. The next is product exiting IORS testing can immediately be commercially launched without further regulatory approvals. नहीं sir. If you get the successful exit, that means now you will go to the respective regulatory body, seek the permission from that regulatory body, and then only you will be allowed to perform the functions commercially. So the answer is going to be B option 1, 3, 4. ऐसा नहीं है पास हो गए और अगले दिन से आप लॉन्च कर दी. No, you need that approval, which is very much required. Next question. Consider the following statement regarding the 32nd meeting of FSDC subcommittee held at RBI Mumbai. So what was that meeting all about? First one, the meeting focused on global and domestic macroeconomic developments, emphasizing trade uncertainties, geopolitical risk, spillover effects from the international conditions. That is true. Absolutely correct. KYC, simplification of KYC and special financial inclusion drives were discussed to improve accessibility and reduce compliance burden. Will reduce the compliance burden. That is correct. National Strategy for Financial Inclusion 2025-2030 aims to expand access to financial services, enhance financial literacy, strengthen digital payments, insurance, pension, credit uptake. That is also correct. Next point says state level coordination committees were reviewed for consumer protection, monitoring fraud, deposit schemes and interstate coordination. That is also true. The meeting concluded that financial stability can be ensured solely through domestic policy without regard to global economic conditions. No sir. यहाँ पे बहुत clearly ये कहा गया था. The meeting emphasized vigilance on emerging global risk is very important. Only and only domestic policies will not work. So that is something which you need to remember. So बाकी statements correct है. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the correct answer. अगले question में बढ़ते हैं. Regarding the participation of standalone primary dealers in the non-deliverable derivative contracts involving Indian rupees, consider the following statements. Only authorized dealer category 1 banks operating IFSC banking unit were previously permitted. बिल्कुल सही है. Non-deliverable derivative contracts allow participants to hedge or take position in INR with settlement in foreign currency without physical delivery of Indian rupees. Absolutely correct. Standalone primary dealers core function remain limited to government securities. बिल्कुल सर, इनको बनाया ही गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी के लिए गया. दे विल बी इन्वॉल्व इन गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी ट्रेड. द रीसेंट इंक्लूजन इन NDDC does not allow them to serve to non-resident. नहीं सर, it is wrong. They are allowed to serve to the non-residents as well as Indian residents. They are allowed to serve both of them. Remember that. They are allowed to serve both of them. Remember that. The circular permitting standalone primary dealers in rupee non-deliverable derivative contracts is issued under Section 45 of RBI Act 1934. True. Participation of standalone primary dealers in non-deliverable derivative contracts enhances market liquidity, broadens the hedging options, aligns them with authorized dealer category 1 banks operating in IFSC. That is also correct. So answer क्या बनेगा? So B option is correct. 1, 2, 4, 5 are correct. But the third statement is wrong. समझ आ गई बात? क्लियर हो गया? नेक्स्ट, consider the following statement regarding the supervisory data quality index of Reserve Bank of India, which has been recently released for June 2025. Let's talk about it. The first point says SDQI assesses accuracy, timeliness, completeness, consistency of the supervisory data submitted by banks and financial institutes. That is true. Timeliness evaluates solely based on the number of returns submitted, irrespective of the delay in the submission. नहीं सर, टाइमलीनेस का मतलब तो वही है, डिलेस, कि आपने भैया कितना डिले किया, कितनी बार डिले किया, क्या आपकी पूरी हिस्ट्री है. Scheduled commercial banks are classified as good if their SDQI is between 90 to 100, indicating minimal delays or errors in reporting. याद है आपको ये पॉइंट? Is this point clear to you? Is this point clear to you? ये याद है आपको पॉइंट? 60 से कम होगा तो क्या होगा, 70 to 80 होगा तो क्या होगा, 80 to 90 होगा तो क्या होगा? एनी आइडिया? वैसे मैं आपको बता दूं कि रीसेंट जो डेटा आया, उस रीसेंट डेटा के अकॉर्डिंग ऑल द बैंक्स दे वर अबव 80, ऑल द बैंक्स दे वर अबव 80, ऑल द बैंक्स दे वर अबव 80. बट द क्वेश्चन ओवर हियर इज कि सर वो जो कैटेगराइजेशन है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ स्कोर, हाउ इट इज डन, वो मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रहा हूं. आई एम ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट वेदर यू रिमेंबर द कैटेगराइजेशन वाला पार्ट. चलो, आई लेट यू नो. सो द आंसर टू दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन वुड बी, सर अगर आप बात करते हैं, if you talk about the score, so in that particular case इस बार का जो स्कोर था उसमें सारे बैंक्स 80 से अबव थे, कोई भी बैंक 80 से नीचे नहीं था. लेकिन अगर मैं आपको क्राइटेरिया बताऊं, अगर आपका स्कोर लेस देन 70 है, इफ योर स्कोर इज लेस देन 70, देन इट इज अ पॉइंट ऑफ मेजर कंसर्न. 70 to 80 है, देन इट इज नीड्स इंप्रूवमेंट. 80 to 90 है, देन वी कॉल इट एज एक्सेप्टेबल. और अगर 90 अबव है, यानी 90 से 100 के बीच में है, देन वी से गुड. तो यहां पे जो हमारे पास क्राइटेरिया वो गुड का है, दैट इज करेक्ट. SDQI framework applies to all commercial banks, including the RRBs, NBFCs, excluding housing finance companies, ARCs, primary urban cooperative banks. What will be the answer? What will be the answer? No, sir, it exclude. Remember that, sir, it exclude the RRBs also. It excludes the RRBs also. So RRBs are also excluded. So keeping that in mind, this is wrong. The SDQI for scheduled commercial bank covers key returns, including all these areas. That is correct. So आंसर क्या बनेगा? 135 के हिसाब से सी ऑप्शन हमारा करेक्ट आंसर बन जाएगा. ठीक है, मैंने बता दिया, पूरा पूरा स्टोरी बता दी. आई होप इट इज करेक्ट. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट करेक्टली रिफ्लेक्ट्स the use, risk and governance of AI in the Indian banking sector as per the RBI's Deputy Governor's speech. And the name of the RBI Deputy Governor is M. Rajeshwar Rao. उन्होंने एक स्पीच दी थी, मैंने वो स्पीच आपके साथ डिस्कस भी की थी इन मच डिटेल, उसी से रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन लेके आया हूं. AI is being adopted over 70% of banking, financial services and insurance organization for risk management, credit scoring, fraud detection. That is true. Unified lending interface integrates data from eKYC, from GST, property records, trades. That is true. Key AI risks include third-party dependence, very important. Cybersecurity threat, very important. Model opacity, done. Generative AI misuse and data fragmentation, true. RBI's Free AI Committee report and draft MRM guidelines emphasize explainable AI, human in the loop, transparency and profitability, transparency and proportionality in AI governance. That is also correct. AI adoption in banking eliminates the need for human oversight entirely, as automated system ensure unbiased and fully error-free decisions. No sir, ये तो report में clearly बोला गया that AI will be implemented in loop with human. That means it should be AI, human aided AI. It should be in this manner. So keeping that in mind, A option is correct, but the fifth statement is wrong. Next question. Which of the following statement reflects the discussion, recommendations and initiative highlighted in the 35th RBI Conference of Central Finance Secretaries? तो Central Finance Secretaries की जो 35th Conference हुई, उसमें क्या क्या decisions लिए गए, क्या क्या points correct है. States were urged to prioritize productive expenditure in areas like infrastructure, health, education, while avoiding unproductive revenue overspending. That is true. Off-budget borrowing and contingent liabilities were highlighted as potential threat. That is true. RBI emphasized macro fiscal coordination covering currency management, financial inclusions like Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, direct benefit transfers, implementation of unified lending interface. True. The conference mandated that all states must reduce their fiscal deficit below 2%. No sir, it's not 2%. The value is not 2%. What is the value? क्या target value set की गई है बताना. Market borrowing through state development loans are reviewed with discussions on minimizing borrowing costs while maintaining fiscal stability. That is correct. तो इसके हिसाब से हमारा जो आंसर बनना चाहिए, so that should be 1, 2, 3 and 5. That is A option. But the question is, what is the target? ठीक है, मुझे पता है कि ये स्टेटमेंट गलत है, मैंने भी आपको बता दिया, लेकिन जो इंपॉर्टेंट है दैट इज द टारगेट. व्हाट इज द टारगेट गाइस? What is the target set under the 35th meeting? Still waiting, still waiting. %. Okay, someone is saying 3%. What about others, guys? I've got an answer that is 3%. What about others? Do you agree it is 3%? I think 4%. Okay. Keep on thinking, keep on thinking. I'm still waiting. अच्छा चलो इस मीटिंग को छोड़ दो. लेट्स लीव दिस मीटिंग. लेट्स लीव दिस मीटिंग. इन जनरल बता दो क्या टारगेट है ऑन दी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर फिस्कल डेफिसिट का क्या टारगेट है? इन जनरल तो बता सकते हैं. Still waiting, still waiting, still waiting. थ्री परसेंट इज करेक्ट। हाँ, अगर आप मीट की बात करेंगे तो एज एन मीट में उन्होंने कोई टारगेट नहीं दिया था, उन्होंने ये कहा था तो यू शुड फॉलो द टारगेट, यू शुड अचीव, ट्राई टू अचीव योर टारगेट। अगर मैं 2024-25 की बात करूं तो जो ग्रॉस फिस्कल डेफिसिट था दैट वाज 3.2%, नाउ द टारगेट इज 3%। ठीक है जी। मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, विद रेफरेंस टू आरबीआई डायरेक्शंस on settlement of claims of deceased customer of banks, consider the following statements. Bank must settle claims relating to deposit accounts within 15 days, within 15 calendar days of receiving all the required documents, failing which the compensation bank rate plus 4% per annum will be paid as an interest on the deposit account. Will be paid as an interest on the deposit account. Any idea? Any idea? Is it बैंक रेट प्लस 4% और बैंक रेट प्लस 2%? सोचो जरा। वॉज नहीं, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द टारगेट, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द टारगेट। गौरव, टारगेट क्या है? टारगेट इज टू अचीव 3%। बैंक्स डू नॉट रिक्वायर, वन सेकेंड, हाँ, in case of safe deposit locker claims, if the bank delays beyond 15 days, then there will be a 5,000 rupees of penalty. Where an account has a valid nomination or survivorship clause, banks are barred from demanding succession certificate letters or succession certificates or letter of administration or indemnity bond, irrespective of the claim amount, provided due diligence is done. Is this point correct? बिल्कुल सही है सर। जहां पे आपके पास सर्वाइवर वाला क्लॉज है वहां पे आपको इन सारी चीजों की जरूरत नहीं है। So this is correct, this is correct. The next point says, for account without nominee, if the claim amount including the interest is within the threshold limit, 15 lakhs for the commercial bank, 5 lakhs for the cooperative banks, bank may settle on the basis of claim form, death certificate, indemnity bond, either legal heir certificate or affidavit without any court succession order. That is true. If a depositor is declared missing, nominee or legal heir must always obtain a court order. नहीं सर, always गलत हो गया ना, always गलत हो गया। अगर आपको याद हो, if your claim value is up to 1 lakh, in that particular case, missing report, or I would say the declaration of missing person or the non-traceable police report is valid, so that can help you to withdraw. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So yes, first statement is correct. Bank rate plus 4% is the correct answer. Next, with reference to the SC Murmu, the Deputy Governor of RBI, consider the following statement. His appointment was approved by the Appointments Committee of the Cabinet and he will be serving for next 3 years. That is true. He succeeded M. Rajeshwar Rao. True. At the time of appointment, Murmu was serving as the Executive Director of RBI. True. The RBI is managed by Governor and 5 Deputy Governors. And if I talk about the Deputy Governor's name, T. Ravi Shankar, Swaminathan, Poonam Gupta and Shirish Murmu are correct. The role of Deputy Governor includes oversight monetary policy, banking regulations, financial market, ensuring overall financial stability of the country. That is correct. So keeping that in mind, answer is going to be what? So keeping this in mind, your answer is going to be B option. 1, 2, 3, 5 are correct. ठीक है जी। Moving on to the next. The next point is, वो तो बता दी थी गौरव, आप शायद उस क्लास में नहीं थे, जाके वो क्लास देख लीजिएगा, उससे अगली क्लास में मैंने पूरी स्टोरी सुना दी थी। Consider the following statement regarding the WTO World Trade Report 2025, making trade and AI work together to benefit of all. The report projects that AI could raise global trade by 34 to 37% and global GDP by 12 to 13% by 2040. That is correct. The global trade in AI enabling goods such as semiconductors and sensors was valued around $2.3 trillion in 2023. That is true. WTO simulation suggests that with broad AI adoption and improved digital infrastructure, low-income economies could achieve GDP gains of around 15%. That is true. That is true. No. With broad adoption and infrastructure, low-income economies, they can grow by 15%, surpassing middle income economies. ये थोड़ा सा गलत हो जाएगा. I would say there should be फर्स्ट वन इज मैच द मिडिल इनकम इकोनॉमीज, क्योंकि उनमें हम ग्रोथ देखेंगे 14% की। दूसरा पॉइंट है, but not in all scenarios. They don't surpass medium income economies in the benchmark or infrastructure only cases. The report stresses inclusiveness, not permanent outperformance. So remember that this is not correct. The report finds that 10% increase in digital service trade is associated with 2.6% rise in the AI. That is true. That is true. The next is between 2012 to 2024, the number of quantitative restrictions on AI documented by WTO has increased 130 to 500. That is correct. So answer क्या बनना चाहिए सर? आंसर बनना चाहिए इसका 134 नहीं 1245. 1245 means B option is the correct answer. ठीक है जी। हरिनी, वो जो आपने 8% वाला पॉइंट याद है ना आपको, वो दैट इज उसमें एक और पॉइंट मैंने याद ऐड किया था। अगर टफ सिनेरियोज है तो अगर टफ सिनेरियोज है तो ये ग्रोथ रेट कम हो जाएगी, बट अगेन इट विल बी मैचिंग द मीडियम इनकम इकोनॉमीज, सो इट इज नॉट सरपासिंग, इट इज मैचिंग एंड सरपासिंग जो वर्ड है दैट विल नॉट बी ट्रू इन ऑल केसेस। इट कैन बी ट्रू इन सम केसेस, नॉट इन ऑल केसेस। कुछ केसेस में सरपास भी करेंगी बट नॉट इन ऑल केसेस, सो कीपिंग दैट इन माइंड, थर्ड स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग। नेक्स्ट, with reference to the Goods and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal launched in 2025, consider the following statement. GSTAT has been established under Section 109 of CGST Act 2017. That is true. Each bench of GSTAT consists of 5 members. Each bench will consist of 4 members, not 5 members, including two retired judges, generally not Supreme Court judges, including 2 retired judges, not Supreme Court judges. The tribunal principal bench is in New Delhi, while 31 state benches will be notified across 45 locations. That is true. GSTAT is expected to start hearing appeals from December 2025, but the timeline is to register your complaint is 30th June 2026. GSTAT e-court portal supports virtual hearing, simplified formats, case tracking, aims to reduce litigation under the Digital India mission. That is true. So उसके basis पे अगर हम चले तो 1345 are correct. Moving on to the next one. With reference to the RBI's 2025 renewal of its statement of commitment to the FX Global Code, consider the following statement. The FX Global Code, first published in 2017, is a legally binding agreement requiring all the central banks to standardize forex rules. That is correct or wrong? Sir, ये जो है this is legally binding? No, so this is non-binding in nature. बाकी सारी statement ठीक है, but it is non-binding in nature. Global Foreign Exchange Committee was established in 2017, is responsible for promoting. That is true. The first major update on FX Global Code occurred in July 2021. That is true. The second update was in December 2024. That is true. और उसी को implement करने के लिए RBI ने ये renew किया है. By renewing its statement of commitment in 2025, RBI reaffirmed India's support for the code and encouraged India's market participation, bank, dealer, corporates to voluntarily align with its principle. तो ये जो दिसंबर में अपडेट आया था उसको इंडिया ने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, and that is the reason India has reviewed its statement of commitment. So keeping that in mind, 2, 3, 4, 5 are correct. 2, 3, 4, 5 are correct. ठीक है जी, क्लियर है? Okay. So guys, let's take a break, है ना? It's 8:39. So we will be back at 8:44. 5 मिनट का ब्रेक ले लेते हैं क्योंकि अभी आधी क्लास हुई है, अभी आधी क्लास बची है. We have 90 plus questions, around 95, 96 questions है. तो if you want, तो I think it will be fine अगर हम ब्रेक ले लेते हैं for 5 minutes. Will it be fine, guys? Will it be fine? Say yes or no. Okay. Okay, I hope you all are there. Just give me yes, sir. Just give me yes, sir, if you all are there. How's the Josh, guys? Ready? Shall we begin? Tell me whether you're enjoying the session or not. Are you enjoying the session? Liking the questions? I hope the level of question is good. Chalo. Let's get started. The next question talks about, as I was mentioning earlier, with reference to RBI 2025 directions permitting the state and central cooperative banks in NABARD's shared service entity, consider the following statement. The new 2025 directions were issued under the section 35, read the section 56 of the Reserve Bank of India. Section 56 of Banking Regulation Act 1949, which came into effect from 26th of September 2025. That is absolutely correct. The next point says, the investment in SSE share capital has been explicitly included, but such investment continues to count towards the overall prudential ceilings on non-SLR instruments. Say yes or no. No, sir, they won't be included. They won't be included. They continues to count. No, not counted towards the overall prudential ceiling for non-SLR instruments, that is up to 10%, and up to 5% can be invested in SSE. Although SSE is an unlisted entity, RBI exempted investment in its share capital from 2016 onwards. That is true. The maximum permissible investment by an individual state cooperative bank or central cooperative bank is up to 5% of its owned fund. That is true. That is paid up capital plus reserves is the owned funds. One of the major objective of creating SSE is to provide shared infrastructure for IT services to cooperative banks, thereby reducing the dependence on costly standalone operations. That is true. So answer kya banega, sir? 1, 3, 4, 5 will be the answer. A option is the correct answer. Moving on to the next one. Consider the following statement about ways and means advances and related to RBI operations. Ways and means advances are the short-term advances given by RBI to central and state government so that they can manage temporary mismatches between receipts and payments. True. Normal WMA is not secured. It is not secured against the government security, but special are secured against the government securities. If the WMA outstanding exceeds the sanction limit or the prescribed period, then it will be considered overdraft, और overdraft के ऊपर जो rate of interest होगा that will be repo rate plus 2%. In case of WMA, the rate of interest is going to be repo rate only. Interest rate charge on WMA is linked to RBI's repo rate. That is correct. RBI may trigger fresh borrowings when government utilizes 75%. अगर government ने 75% WMA को utilize कर लिया तो आपको नए government borrowings के लिए fresh market borrowings के लिए allow करेगा RBI. That is true. So answer is going to be 1, 3, 4, 5. C option is the correct answer. सही है. अगला question. Consider the following statement regarding the India's international investment position as of June 2025. Sir, India's net international investment position is now minus $312 billion. It has improved because earlier it was minus $329 billion. Okay. Next point is the ratio of the international asset to liability has reached to 79.2%, which has improved as per the previous years. That is correct. Reserve asset continue to dominate India's international assets, contributing nearly 59%. That is also correct. On the liability side, portfolio investment accounted for the majority of the rise in the Q1, following by loans and FDI. On the liability side में जो हमने सबसे ज्यादा liability हमारे ऊपर आई है, सबसे ज्यादा liability का मतलब जो सबसे ज्यादा investment हुई है, that has been witnessed from foreign portfolio investments. Say yes or no. The share of debt liabilities in the total has declined from 5.8 to 54.8 to 54.5%. That is correct. So keeping this in mind, which all statements are correct? So keeping this in mind, first statement is correct, second statement is correct, third statement is correct, but the fourth statement is wrong क्योंकि जो majority है that comes from loan, then it comes from the investment. तो सबसे ज्यादा जो liability हमारे ऊपर है, that is from loan. So fourth statement is wrong. So A option is correct. 1, 2, 3, 5 are correct. With reference to the external debt as of June 2025, India's total debt is around $747.2 billion, with the debt to GDP ratio moderating to 18.9%. The share of short-term debt in the total external debt declined, but on the residual maturity basis, it constituted more than 40% of the total debt. Give me the answer. The Indian rupee denominated debt accounted for a higher share than US dollar. Indian rupee denominated debt is lower than the US dollar. सबसे ज्यादा जो हमारे ऊपर debt है, that is in the US dollar denomination only. Non-financial corporation had the highest share in the outstanding. That is true. Loans remain the largest instrument category. That is also true. So answer to this particular question is 1, 2, 4, 5 are correct. A option is correct, but the third option is wrong क्योंकि जो ज्यादा हमारे ऊपर liability है, that is US dollar denominated, not rupee denominated. Next, with reference to the constitution of Payment Regulatory Board, consider the following statements. The Payment Regulatory Board was constituted under the Finance Act 2025, replacing the earlier one. That is true. The RBI governor is the chairperson of PRB, while the deputy governor and the executive director in charge of the payment system are its members. Okay. The secretaries of both Department of Financial Services and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology are the members. Okay. An external expert, that is Aruna Sundararajan, is the part of the board, thereby providing non-RBI representation. Okay. The principal legal advisor is the permanent invitee, not the permanent member. First statement is also not wrong, is also not correct as per the act. So answer to this particular question is going to be what, sir? It is going to be A option. 2, 3, 4 are correct. ठीक है जी. अगला question. Consider the following statement regarding the latest RBI bulletin. September 2025 से ये question लेकर आया हूं मैं. India recorded a 5-quarter high GDP growth in the first quarter of 2025-26, mainly driven by external demand. That was basically because of external demand, guys. Any idea? That was basically driven by external demand. Think upon it. CPI headline inflation remained below RBI target rate for 7 consecutive months. True. In 2024-25, moderation in the non-food bank credit was mainly due to RBI increasing risk weights on the unsecured lending. Equity insurance, NBFC credit, short-term external credit contributions to rise in the non-bank funding during 2024-25. At end March 2025, the total outstanding credit from the bank and non-bank sources as a percentage of GDP was lower than a year ago. पढ़ो एक बार इस statement को एक बार पढ़ो and then give me the answer. Go through with the statement and then give me the answer. सारी statements को closely understand करो. ओके फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट गलत है सर. फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट क्यों गलत है? क्योंकि एक्सटर्नल डिमांड वाज नॉट द रीजन. सेकंड is CPI headline वाला point is correct. There is nothing wrong in that. In 2024-25, the moderation in the non-bank credit was mainly due to the RBI increasing risk weights on the unsecured lendings. That is true. Equity insurance, NBFC credit, short-term external credit contributed to rise in non-banking funding. That is true. At the end of March 2025, the total outstanding credit from banks and non-bank sources as a percentage of GDP was lower than the previous year. Actually, the RBI bulletin stated that the overall outstanding credit from the banks and non-bank sources as a percentage of GDP has increased at the end of March 2025 from a level year ago. So that statement is also wrong. So answer क्या बनेगा सर? इसका आंसर बनना चाहिए B option. That is 2, 3, 4 are correct. Rest all the statements are wrong. ठीक है जी. करेक्ट हो गया। अगले क्वेश्चन की ओर बढ़ते हैं। विद रेफरेंस टू दी सितंबर 2025 बुलेटिन, कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट। पहला, analysis of 5.69 million fintech app reviews revealed that trust and joy dominate over sentiments, though customer services and loan approval remains areas of concern. Is this point correct, guys? Is this point correct? Think and then give me the answer. Okay, then my answer to this particular question would be what? So मेरा इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर क्या बन जाएगा? मेरे इस क्वेश्चन की अगर मैं आंसर्स की बात करूं, पहली स्टेटमेंट बिल्कुल ठीक है। दूसरी स्टेटमेंट पे अगर हम बात करें, हायर यूपीआई adoption is empirically associated with the lower cash demand both nationally as well as at state level. बिल्कुल सही है। According to 2022-23 NSO household consumption expenditure survey, inequality has improved. It has not worsened. Rather, this inequality has improved. So this is a wrong statement. Infrastructure indices constructed in the bulletin study show a significant positive association between the infrastructure and GDP growth. Between the infrastructure and GDP growth, that is true. NBFC has shown weakening financial health with higher NPA. No, sir. That is wrong. NBFC's financial health remains strong with sound return on asset, sound CRAR as well as within a limit NPAs. So this is wrong. So answer क्या बनेगा सर? इसका आंसर बनेगा B option. 1, 2, 4 are correct. Rest all the options are incorrect. ठीक है जी। अगले क्वेश्चन की ओर बढ़ते हैं। अगला क्वेश्चन देखो। Consider the following statement regarding the SMBC's acquisition of stake in Yes Bank. SMBC जो stakes purchase कर रहा है in Yes Bank, the Competition Commission of India has allowed SMBC to acquire up to 24.99% shareholding in Yes Bank. That is correct. RBI has given the approval. Correct. The acquisition gives SMBC management control over the Yes Bank operations. No. Acquisition of stake up to 24.99% does not give you the management control, only the shareholding and voting rights. So this is wrong. R. Gandhi, the former deputy governor, has been reappointed as the Yes Bank's non-executive chairperson. That is correct. Acquisition relates specifically to certain share capital and voting rights of the Yes Bank, not the management control. So इस point को अब याद रखिएगा. Answer is going to be B option 1, 2, 4, 5. अगला question. With reference to the India's consideration of easing FDI approval from Chinese inflows, consider the following. आपको याद होगा कोविड के समय हमने एक स्टेटमेंट दी थी गवर्नमेंट ने कि अब जितनी भी हमारी नेबरिंग कंट्रीज अगर वहां से एफडीआई आएगा दे शुड कम ओनली एंड ओनली थ्रू वन रूट, दैट इज गवर्नमेंट अप्रूव्ड रूट. दे विल नॉट एंजॉय द ऑटोमेटिक रूट फॉर एफडीआई. बट उसमें अब कुछ चेंजेस है. करंट रूल्स रिक्वायर एफडीआई प्रपोजल फ्रॉम द नेबरिंग कंट्रीज टू बी वेस्टेड by the government panel. That is correct. The restrictions were introduced in 2020. Correct. The move came in the wake of opportunist acquisition during COVID-19 and clashes with China. इसी वजह से ये रिफॉर्म किया गया था. That is correct. Recent normalization efforts include SCO participation and meeting between India's Prime Minister as well as head of China. That is correct. The restriction imposed in 2020 also banned the Chinese app TikTok is the answer. So the answer to this particular question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means C option. All the statements are correct. Moving on to the next one. Consider the following statement about the recent GST rate cut. GST slab have been reduced primarily to 5 and 18%. 5% is for merit goods, 18% for standard goods, and 40% for sin goods. That is correct. The reform is estimated to cost the government around 48,000 crores annually. That is correct. SBI research projects the effective weighted GST rate at 9.5% post restructuring. That is correct. Economists expect CPI inflation to be increased. No, sir. Economies are expecting that the CPI inflation is expected to fall by 70 to 90 basis point, not rise. Care Edge forecast financial year 2025-26 GDP growth to fall. No, sir. GDP growth will increase due to the reduced tax revenue, because consumption will increase, your demand will increase, production will increase. That will result in increase in GDP. So answer is going to be A option. 1, 2, and 3 are correct. 4th and 5th statement are wrong. Next, with reference to SEBI's investigation into Jane Street Consider the following statement. SEBI imposed a temporary trading ban on Jane Street in 2024. That is true. The props relates to the allegation of high frequency trading manipulations. That is true. Jane Street has resumed trading after paying the penalty. No. Sir, they have not resumed the trading yet. Remember that SEBI directed exchange to curb derivatives trading on price sensitive days. That is true. A large trade worth 370 crore in May 2024 increased SEBI scrutiny. That is correct. तो इसका आंसर क्या बनेगा सर? 1, 2, 4, 5 आर करेक्ट. ए ऑप्शन इज करेक्ट. थर्ड स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग. अभी भी जेन को अलाउ नहीं किया गया टू ऑपरेट. Consider the following statement with respect to the SEBI's framework for surrendering KRAs. What is this KRAs? Any idea, guys? What is this KRA? Anyone? I'm still waiting for your reply. Chalo, I'll let you know. KRA basically means KYC registration agencies. KRA basically means KYC registration agencies. अब इससे related क्या news है? The news is KRAs under the SEBI regulation. KRA maintains centralized KYC record for investors in the capital market, primarily for mutual funds, corporate bonds, and other securities. So the transfer of KYC records, it basically means when an investor requests a change of KRA or a KRA exit the business, KRA बंद कर देता अपना business, तो उस केस में उसके जो KYC records है, including the modifications, updates, as well as the full audit trail must be transferred to the new SEBI registered KRA. That is a point. क्यों ऐसा किया गया? This ensures continuity, prevent duplication, and preserves compliance history. And SEBI's KRA regulation 2011 specifically mandated that the outgoing KRAs, they must provide a complete KYC record to the new KRA within the prescribed timelines. This is what you need to remember. The framework applies only to the voluntary exit by the KRAs. अगर voluntary exit है by the KRA, then only it will applicable. No, अगर आपको बंद भी किया जा रहा है by SEBI rules, then also you have to perform the same function. KRAs must transfer all KYC records, including modifications and audit trails. That is true. Investors will need to complete. No fresh KYC will be done. Each KRA must adopt a standard operation procedure approved by its board to manage winding down. That is correct. The framework also covers involuntary exits such as financial distress or regulatory actions. That is also true. So answer is 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. So answer is going to be C option. As per my knowledge, Jane Trading has not yet again started its operations, but एक बार आप इसे चेक कर लीजिएगा. मैं भी इसको अगर चेक कर लूंगा, अगर आपको ऐसा लग रहा है तो according to me they have not allowed to resume their trading after paying the penalty. That was not the case. That was not the case according to me, but एक बार आप फिर भी चेक कीजिएगा. To lift the ban, Jane Street requires to deposit around 4,800 crores into an escrow account controlled by the regulator. Upon fulfilling the conditions, SEBI allowed the firm to resume the trading. So अगर हम current status की बात करें, SEBI has lifted the restriction on the Jane Street, but it has not yet resumed its trading in India. The firm has committed to abstaining from options trading, as well as they have stated it will not engage in the cash market trading until it is clarified its trades to SEBI. तो उन्होंने ये मना किया कि we will not resume as per my knowledge. उनको ये कहा था कि आप resume कर सकते हैं, but उन्होंने resume किया नहीं. उनको ये कहा था कि अगर आप अपनी पेनल्टी पे करेंगे you can resume, but they have not resumed. That is a point. ठीक है जी. चलो अगले पॉइंट पे बढ़े. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. अगला क्वेश्चन हमें क्या कहता है, देखिएगा जरा. Consider the FPI trends. So FPI sold shares worth nearly around 98,000 crores in IT, power and FMCGs in the Jan to August 2025. ये बिल्कुल ठीक है. IT saw the highest FPI sell-off worth 61,000 crores. That is correct. Telecom saw the highest purchase by the FPIs, that is also correct. Financial services and consumer durables also saw net buying from FPIs. Financial services and consumer durables, they have saw selling, not buying. They have witnessed selling, not buying. So financial services and consumer durables also saw net selling from FPI, not buying. Data on FPI activity was compiled by NSDL, that is correct. तो इस पे अगर हम बात करें क्या क्या ऑप्शंस हमारे पास करेक्ट हो जाएंगे, 1, 2, 3 and 5 are correct. So answer is going to be C option. Moving on to the next one. Consider the following regarding the amendments in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Bill 2025. The bill introduces a new section empowering resolution professionals to challenge avoidance transaction before NCLT. ये बिल्कुल सही है सर. सेक्शन 164A के तहत जो हमारी रेजोल्यूशन प्रोफेशनल्स है, they can challenge avoidance transaction before National Company Law Tribunal. That is true. The next is the new law. The look back period for avoidance transaction is restricted to 3 years before filing of insolvency. No sir, it is restricted to 2 years. It is not restricted to 3 years. It is restricted to 2 years. The amendment is aimed at prevailing diversion of funds by promoters before filing of पर्सनल इंसॉल्वेंसी. बिल्कुल सही है कि सर इसमें अब प्रिवेंट किया जाएगा कि जो आपके प्रमोटर्स हैं, दे शुड नॉट डाइवर्सिफाई देयर फंड्स, और अगर ऐसा किया तो पिछले 2 सालों में उनके फंड के डाइवर्जन को चेक किया जाएगा. अर्लियर IBFC प्रोविजंस अलाउड स्क्रूटनी ऑफ सस्पिशियस ट्रांजैक्शंस ओनली विद इन 2 ईयर पीरियड. अर्लियर जो स्क्रूटनी प्रोविजंस थी, दे वर रिलेटेड टू 2 years. ये बिल्कुल ठीक है, लेकिन अब इसे बढ़ाकर कितना कर दिया, अब इसे बढ़ाकर कितना कर दिया? एनी आइडिया गाइस? What will be the answer to this question? I'm still waiting for your reply. So some of the recent, if I talk about the amendments, some amendments, they have extended scrutiny period for certain related party or fraud transactions. For certain fraud transactions, now the scrutiny can be done for 3 years. ठीक है जी, ये जो scrutiny है fraud transaction के लिए 3 years, लेकिन जो diversion है that is up to 2 years. Remember that. The new amendment plugs a loophole that let promoters escape liability for order for older fraudulent transactions. That is true. So ये भी पॉइंट सही हो गया. So यहाँ पे हमारे जो आंसर्स बनेंगे that will be 1, 3, 4, 5. लेकिन यहाँ पे जो चेंजेस है, you remember that कि अगर आपकी जो प्रमोटर फंड डाइवर्जन है that will be checked up to 2 years, लेकिन जो सस्पिशियस ट्रांजेक्शन की स्क्रूटनी है that will be done up to 3 years. पहले वो विद इन 2 years था, उसे बढ़ाकर 3 years कर दिया. Remember that. ठीक है जी. Any doubt till this point? Shall we move ahead? Any doubt till this point? Shall we move ahead? I'm still waiting. Chalo, let's move on to the next question regarding the Ujjivan Small Finance Bank's fundraising plans. Consider the following. The bank plans to raise 2,000 crore rupees. Bank plans to raise 2,000 crore rupees via QIP over the next 18 to 24 months. That is correct. ये बिल्कुल सही planning है. The current capital adequacy ratio is 23.1%, which is well above the target of 15% in case of small finance bank. The bank aims to achieve a gross loan book of 1 lakh crore by financial year 29-30. That is true. It plans to expand the secured loan share from 46% to 65 to 70%. That is correct. Its net interest margin is projected at 9 to 10%. No sir, its net interest margin is projected at 6 to 7%. ये वैल्यू याद रख लेना क्योंकि it's pretty high. Net interest margin of 6 to 7% is a very good number. So that is something which you need to remember. Moving to the next one. Consider the following about the India's forex reserves. The total reserve increased by $3.51 billion to $694.23 billion. Is this statement correct, sir? Absolutely correct. The increase was mainly due to the rise in gold reserves and foreign currency assets. That is true. The next is RBI reduced exposure to US Treasury bills, which fell from $242 billion to $272 billion on year-on-year basis. That is correct. India now hold less gold than last year. India now hold less gold than last year. No. Sir, India hold more gold than last year. अगर मैं gold holding की बात करूं तो 879.9 मेट्रिक टन मुझे याद आ रहा है, जो कि पिछले साल था अराउंड 840.7 मेट्रिक टन. ये लास्ट ईयर का डेटा है, ये करंट ईयर का डेटा, तो ऑब्वियसली इंक्रीज होगा. इंडिया रिमेन्स अमंग द टॉप 20 इन्वेस्टर्स इन यूएस ट्रेजरी बिल्स अहेड ऑफ सऊदी अरेबिया एंड जर्मनी. दैट इज करेक्ट. तो इसके हिसाब से अगर हम चले तो सी ऑप्शन करेक्ट है, लेकिन हमारा जो फोर्थ ऑप्शन है दैट इज रॉन्ग. कलेक्ट हो गया, क्लियर हो गया. चलो नेक्स्ट. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग आर करेक्ट रिगार्डिंग द फिच 2025-26 इंडियाज ग्रोथ फोरकास्ट. तो इंडिया की ग्रोथ फोरकास्ट में फिच का क्या एस्टिमेट है? सर, फिच हैज एस्टिमेटेड दैट इंडियाज ग्रोथ is revised from 6.5 to 6.9%. That is true. India's Q1 financial year 2025-26 growth was 7.8%, higher than expected. That is true. GST cut on 375 everyday items are expected to boost consumption. True. Inflation is forecast at 5.2%. No, sir. Inflation is forecast at 3.2% by 2025 end, and it will be 4.1% by 2026 end. ठीक है, 2026 एंड और ये है 2025 एंड. तो ये गलत हो गई स्टेटमेंट. आरबीआई मे कट रेट्स बाय 25 बेसिस पॉइंट बाय ईयर एंड. यस, ये एक्सपेक्टेशन फिच ने अपनी रिपोर्ट में दी है, ये करेक्ट है, लेकिन दिसंबर की मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी देखनी होगी. बट अक्टूबर की मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी में आरबीआई ने ऐसा कुछ नहीं किया, एज वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इन द प्रीवियस सेशन. इज इट क्लियर? Okay, moving on to the next one. Consider the following statement about the India's inclusion in JP Morgan's GBI EM Global Diversified Index. देखो एक बार, मैं तब तक कमेंट सेक्शंस देख लूं. So you can connect with me on my Telegram channel Asta. If you have any query, I will be taking up your queries on the Telegram channel itself, so don't worry. So India has been included in JP Morgan's Government Bond Index Emerging Market, and this was done in June 2024. Index is JP Morgan GBI EM Global Diversified. उसके basis पे ये कुछ questions है which we have to find out. So the first question says India's bond weight was reduced from 10% to 9% effective in phased manner during the first half. That is correct. India का जो bond weight है that has reduced. Despite weight reduction, India remains the largest Asian constituent in the index. क्या ये point सही है? नहीं सर, चाइना कैसे भूल गए? चाइना हमसे ऊपर है. So China is the largest one, not India. Investment via FAR in government securities, that is fully accessible route in government securities, stood at 3.01 lakh crores in mid-September 2025, higher than August end. That is correct. In the first quarter financial year 2025-26, net bond outflow of 24,000 crore due to the fiscal concerns and currency volatility. That is true. India's 10-year benchmark yield has increased to 6.65% and finally closed at 6.49% after easing. बिल्कुल सही डेटा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. सो आंसर टू दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन इज 1, 3, 4, 5 आर करेक्ट. सो सी ऑप्शन इज द करेक्ट आंसर. अगला क्वेश्चन देखो. रिगार्डिंग द फेस्टिव सीजन क्रेडिट पुश. रिगार्डिंग द फेस्टिव सीजन क्रेडिट पुश, कोटक, L&T Finance, IDFC First launch festive campaign tied up GST 2.0 rollout. That is absolutely correct. L&T Finance BNPL scheme applies only to two-wheelers. बिल्कुल सही है. Prompt payment rebate waives last EMI if 35 timely EMIs are paid in 36-month tenure. बिल्कुल सही है. EMI light scheme requires only interest payments for first 2 months. only interest payments for first 2 months. That is true. The scheme are fully digital first with loan approval in 5 minutes and no paperwork. बिल्कुल सही. तो ये सारे initiatives recently लिए गए हैं by L&T, Kotak and IDFC First to boost the credit flow in the economy during this festive season. Next, consider the following statement regarding the SMBC acquiring. This has been done. Next is about the liquidity crunch of September 2025. अगर हम September 2025 की बात करें, yes, India has witnessed a liquidity crunch. System liquidity fell to 70,000 crores. That is correct. Overnight call rate spiked to 5.65%, which was earlier 5.47%. That is correct. RBI's VRR auction of 75,000 crore received bids just 585 crores. ये बिल्कुल सही है. लेकिन उसके अलावा भी 2 बिड्स आए थे. एक 1 लाख का एक बिड था, दूसरा भी बिड 1 लाख करोड़ के लिए था. एक के लिए तो वी हैव विटनेस अ बिड ऑफ 1.67 लाख करोड़, बट दूसरे के लिए वी हैव विटनेस अ बिड ऑफ अराउंड 40,000 crores, which was the previous data, but in September this was the data. First CRR cut tranche released 65,000 crores as of September 2025. True. Dealers expect liquidity to worsen further in October despite government spending. No sir, we are expecting कि इनकी जो liquidity है that will improve. It will rather not worsen. So answer is going to be B option. Moving on to the next one. Consider the payment aggregator. Consider the payment aggregator. What is this PG? PG over here stands for, देखो एक हमने पढ़ा था online, एक हमने पढ़ा था offline. Now what are these guidelines all about? Any idea? क्या ये payment aggregator के context में ही है? Yes, absolutely correct. Sir, it is related to payment gateway. तो aggregator पे तो मैंने question आपको बता दिया. Now we will be discussing the point on payment gateway. So in this case, RBI mandated that the aggregators, they can handle only for the merchants with direct contract. So in that particular case, if I come up with the correct answers given in the statement, first statement says the RBI mandated aggregators can handle the funds only for merchants with direct contract. बिल्कुल sir, बिना direct contract के you cannot handle. The new rules led PhonePe, Paytm, Credit to suspend rent पेमेंट फीचर. बिल्कुल सही है, क्योंकि रेंट पेमेंट जो आप कर रहे थे फ्रॉम फोन पे एंड ऑल, दैट वाज नॉट इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस योर लैंडलॉर्ड वाज नॉट अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मर्चेंट ऑफ द फोन पे और पेटीएम और क्रेडिट, इसीलिए उन्हें कैंसिल करना पड़ा. दैट इज करेक्ट. Rent payment via credit card had been among the slowest. No, it was the fastest growing fintech use case, but it has been now removed by RBI. RBI circular prohibits payment aggregators from carrying out marketplace activities. That is true. The regulatory move aimed at stopping indirect funding route. That is correct. तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ सर? अब जो आपके payment aggregators हैं, they cannot open marketplaces. That is true. Flipkart, Myntra नहीं खोल सकते. That is basically the point. डायरेक्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का मतलब है हरिनी कि अगर आप मर्चेंट है, मैं पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर हूं, मेरे पास आए, वी विल साइन अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. अंडर दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ओनली आई विल परफॉर्म द सर्विसेज, अदरवाइज आई विल नॉट परफॉर्म इवन अ सिंगल सर्विस फॉर यू. दैट इज अ पॉइंट. रिगार्डिंग द सेबीज अडानी प्रोब, तो अगर हम अडानी प्रोब से रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन बनाए, वैसे तो इसके चांसेस आपके एग्जामिनेशन में काफी कम है, बट सेबी क्लोज 24 प्रोब्स, 22 were completed by August 2023. Allegations included fraud, fund diversion and related party violations. True. SEBI ruled transactions with Edicorp, Milestone, Raybar were not related party transactions. That is correct. SC extended SEBI deadline till January 2024. In the past, that is true. Hindenburg expanded its India's operation in 2025. No, Hindenburg shut down its Indian operation in January 2025. So it is not performing operations in India. So that is wrong. बाकी सारा ठीक है. तो ये एक factual question है, इसे आप पढ़ लेंगे तो सही है, इग्नोर करेंगे तो भी चलेगा. Consider the government AI push. अगर हम government AI push की बात करें, new entities include Fractal, Avatar, Tech Mahindra, IITB's Bharat Gen. That is correct. Sectoral SLMs, that is small language machine, will focus on agriculture, healthcare, education, law, manufacturing. True. First batch included Sarvam, Sokrat, Ganit and Ganini. That is correct. GPU compute capacity is being expanded to 38,000 GPUs. That is correct. India is collaborating with G20 nations only for shared AI infrastructure? No. India is collaborating with Global South. India is not collaborating with G20. India is collaborating with Global South for this purpose. So answer is going to be B option. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया. अगला क्वेश्चन देखो. About the SEBI RBI reforms. So SEBI working to promote corporate bond index derivatives. SEBI is working to promote corporate bond index derivatives. ये बिल्कुल सही है. Outstanding corporate bond grew from 17.5 lakhs to 53.6 lakhs. This is also correct. SEBI has introduced reporting code to CBD, so to CBDT for security transmission cases. अगर security transmission cases है उसमें एक नया कोड यूज होगा, that will be TLH. Social stock exchange norms relaxed to allow easier fundraising with less reporting. No. SSE reporting made more strict rather than relaxing them. SEBI mandated net asset value disclosure of alternative investment fund units in depository system. जैसे आपके mutual funds, they come up with NAVs. In similar manner, now AIFs will also come up with their AIF units, NAVs, that is net asset value. So keeping that in mind, 1, 2, 3 and 5 are correct. So B option is correct, but the fourth statement is wrong. Absolutely correct, Ankul. The answer is correct. Moving on to the next one. Regarding the PhonePe's new license, RBI has granted final authorization. That is true. Framework introduced to regulate online merchant payments. Yes, sir. इसे payment aggregator, online merchant या online payment aggregator का license दिया गया. PhonePe can now onboard small and medium enterprises as online merchants. That is correct. RBI had earlier rejected PhonePe's application. नहीं sir, पहले approval मिला था. That was a general approval, but now the final authorization has been done. The authorization will enhance digital transactions and SME participation. This authorization की वजह से आपकी digital transactions increase होंगी, बिल्कुल. SME participation increase होगा, बिल्कुल. So answer is going to be B option. That is absolutely correct. Next question. About equity market trends. Equity market trend is not important for you. It's just, if you want, you can read it. I'll give you the correct answer for this. ये आप use कर सकते हैं while writing a descriptive answer. इसका जो correct answer बनेगा, that will be B option. Just read it. No need to remember it. Next is regarding PSU bond issuance. If I talk about the public sector units bond issuance, Numaligarh Refinery is going to raise 5,000 crore rupees via 10-year bond. There was a news regarding this. Absolutely correct. NABARD is likely to raise 7,500 crore rupees via 3 years bond. That is also correct. Corporates raise 3.42 lakh crores in the first quarter versus 1.27 lakh crore in the second quarter till August. That is correct. 10-year AAA PSU yield has increased from 7% to 7.25%. That is correct. Investor shun AAA PSU bonds due to weak demand. No. Investors, I would say, shun AAA PSU bonds due to strong demand and limited supply. Strong demand थी लेकिन supply limited थी, जिसकी वजह से वो shunned हुआ. They have shunted it. So keeping that in mind, 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct, but the fifth statement is wrong. Absolutely correct, Uncle. You are going pretty well. Consider the following about SEBI's move to ease rules on trading system glitches. अगर हम trading system glitches की बात करें, उसमें SEBI ने कुछ rules को normalize किया है. What is that? Technical glitch definition will exclude failures after trading hours. Technical glitch definition will exclude failures after trading hours. बिल्कुल सही है सर, वो include नहीं होगा. Brokers must still report incidents within one trading day. बिल्कुल सही है. The same condition. Framework for IBT STWT platforms is valid till 31st March 2025. That is true. Smaller brokers get compliance relief due to limited clientele as well as technology use. That is correct. Earlier framework was introduced in 2022 after broker complaint, not in 2020. So giving that in mind, B option is correct. Next, India's financial year 2025-26 GDP growth at 6.5% according to S&P. Let's try to figure it out. What will be the answer? अगर हम S&P के हिसाब से चले तो S&P projected India's GDP growth at 6.5%. True. June quarter has witnessed a growth of 7.8%. True. Inflation forecast has cut to 3.2%. True. S&P expect RBI to decrease repo rate by 25 basis point. दैट इज द रीजन इट इज रॉन्ग, क्योंकि डिक्रीज होता तो ठीक था, इन्होंने हाइक लिखा तो गलत हो गई स्टेटमेंट. यूएस टैरिफ हाइक रेज इंडियाज इफेक्टिव levy on exports to 50% versus 15 to 20% for the peers. That is correct. So keeping that in mind, only the fourth statement is wrong. The rest all the statements are correct as per the statements given by S&P. Regulations to create India's Big Four. Regulations to create India's Big Four. So proposal allows multi-disciplinary partnerships among CAs, CS and lawyers. Sahi hai sir. Current restrictions of Company Act requires CA majority firm for audits. That is correct. That is correct. ICAI last updated advertising guidelines in 2008. True. Proposal seeks to bar foreign audit firms from government consulting similar to US laws. बिल्कुल सही है. Big Six firms, they handle 67%. So Big Six firms, they handle 67% of Nifty 500 audits as of financial year 2024, not 2025. So it is 2024, not 2025. So keeping that in mind, 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct. B option is the correct answer. Next, India to reach top 10 global innovation index. इस क्वेश्चन को देखते हैं. ग्लोबल इनोवेशन इंडेक्स पे क्वेश्चन बनाया गया. आई होप यू विल बी एबल टू आंसर इट. India ranked 91st in 2015, improved to 38th rank in 2025. That is correct. Startup India helped India become third largest startup ecosystem. True. 52% startups are in tier 2, tier 3 cities with 48% women founders. Very true. Gujarat has been the best performing state for 4 years, hosting 16,000 startups. That is also correct. Government created 10,000 crore. Government created 10,000 crore startup fund under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, not 20,000 crore. So answer is going to be A option. That is correct, uncle. Good. Next, SEBI related, we have a question which is SEBI may have to make assets public. What is this? So this is basically committee chaired by Pratyush Sinha is reviewing the conflict rules. Members include Uday Kotak and many other. Remember the names. Recommendations include asset disclosure, training, capacity building. True. Current rule already bars SEBI from conflicting financial interests. True. The final report is expected by October 2025. तो फिर से एक फैक्चुअल डेटा जो मैंने आपको रीडिंग फॉर्म में दे दिया. SEBI brass may have to make asset public. So उसके बेसिस पे एक कमेटी बनाई गई है, उसके अकॉर्डिंग ये पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट आपके साथ डिस्कस किया गया. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट वन. SEBI settlement on NCSE cases. SEBI settlement on NCSE cases. Settlement amount 14,000 crore for co-location plus dark fiber cases. That is true. National Stock Exchange already paid 40 crores in compliance settlement. True. Supreme Court in 2023 ordered return of 300 crores out of 1100 crore deposit. True. NSE IPOs could be filed within 9 months post SEBI. No objection certificate. That is true. All individual cases against ex-NSE executives will also be settled. No. Individual cases will continue. They will not be settled. But rest all the other cases will be settled. So keeping this in mind, the answer should be 1, 2, 3 and 4. अच्छा, मैं आपको बताता हूँ ये क्या है. इस न्यूज के बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल में बात कर लेते हैं. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आपको समझ नहीं आ रही है न्यूज, प्लीज पे अटेंशन गाइस. What this news talks about. So basically this is related to the National Stock Exchange cases which are pending और उन्हीं को रिजॉल्व करने के लिए ये पर्टिकुलर न्यूज आई थी या ये पर्टिकुलर डिस्कशन हुआ था. So what is this news all about? So अगर हम इसकी बात करें, SEBI has finalized a settlement of around 14,000 crores for the co-location and dark fiber trading irregularities at NSE. अब आपका पहला क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस. इसका मतलब है इट कवर्स ऑल दी आई वुड से प्रोफेशनल एक्सेस और आई वुड से illegal professional access and unfair advantage to certain brokers. उसके बारे में यहाँ पे बात की गई है. वो क्या पॉइंट है, अगर हम इस पॉइंट को भी डिकोड करना चाहें तो हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू decode this. So in that particular case, what all points you need to remember is, okay, so NSE was accused of providing professional access to certain brokers by allowing them to co-locate their servers nearby the exchange servers and by providing dark fiber connectivity. So this allowed डार्क फाइबर कनेक्टिविटी का मतलब मेरा सर्वर आपके सर्वर के पास है तो मैंने आपको एक बैकएंड पे फाइबर लगा के दे दी जिसकी मदद से आप मेरे सर्वर को एक्सेस कर रहे हो. दैट इज बेसिकली डार्क फाइबर नेटवर्क which is basically mentioned in this particular case. So remember that. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया अनिकेत? If it is clear, just give me yes sir. अगला क्वेश्चन कहता है HSBC upgrades Indian equities to overweight. What is this? What is this news all about? Any idea? पढ़ते हैं. पहला पॉइंट क्या कहता है सर? पहला पॉइंट कहता है HSBC has revised the outlook to overweight, projecting Sensex at 94,000 by 2026. तो 2026 तक we are expecting कि जो इंडिया का बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज है या फिर सेंसेक्स है that will go up to a value of what? So that will go up to a value of 94,000, which says that it is overweight. It says basically it is overweight. तो इस overweight के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये पूरी न्यूज पे अगर हम बात करें तो ये पूरी न्यूज क्या है? How many of you have read this particular news? Any idea guys? How many of you have read this particular news? No, मैं बताता हूं ये क्या है. सर HSBC ने अपग्रेड की है डिटेल्स, रिकमेंड किया कि ओवरवेट ऑन इंडियन इक्विटीज. सेंसेक्स जो है दैट इज प्रोजेक्टेड 94,000 बाय 2026 जो कि आज अराउंड 87 पॉइंट्स है, 87,000 पॉइंट्स है. HSBC expects the Indian equities to outperform peers over next 12 to 18 months. वैल्यूएशन पर्सपेक्टिव की बात करें तो इंडिया का जो इंडियाज फॉरवर्ड पीई रेशियो है दैट विल बी 23 टाइम्स, पीयर रेंज विल बी 9.6 टू 18.4x. ये पॉइंट बात की गई. इसमें अगर हम एक और पॉइंट को ऐड करें तो एफपीआई आउटफ्लो इन 2025 is expected to be $15.9 billion which was $16.5 billion back in 2022. तो ये कुछ conditions है which has been given by HSBC. So keeping those conditions in mind ये question मैं आपके लिए लेकर आया हूं. So HSBC revised the outlook to overweight, projecting Sensex at 94,000 points by 2026. That is correct. Sensex closed at 81,000. Implying 15% upside. I think this is not correct. मेरे हिसाब से सेंसेक्स जो क्लोज हुआ था when this report was given that is around 87,000, but ठीक है 81,000 we will consider. India's forward PE is 23 times versus 9.6 to 18.4x का range. FPI outflow will be $15.9 billion. That is true. Domestic inflows weakened in 2025. Domestic inflows तो strong हुई है ना, weak का हुई है. They have became stronger. So if they have became stronger, B option is correct. Rest all the statements are correct. Only fifth statement is wrong. ठीक है जी. अगला question. This we have already discussed. RBI का जो FX global code है उसका मैंने एक नया question frame किया. You just go through with it. I'll give you the answer for this. The answer for this particular question is B option. अब पढ़ लीजिएगा, मैं already पढ़ा चुका हूँ. अगला point है related to digital arrest scams. तो डिजिटल अरेस्ट स्कैम से रिलेटेड एक न्यूज आई थी, एक आर्टिकल आया था, उस आर्टिकल को मैं लेकर आया हूं. अ 78-year-old banker lost 23 crore in India's biggest digital arrest scam. So आज तक का इंडिया का जो बिगेस्ट डिजिटल अरेस्ट स्कैम है दैट इज ऑफ 23 crore. 92,000 scams in 2024 caused loss of around 2,100 crore rupees. That is correct. Next is money was layered via 4,000 mule accounts before offshore transfer. That is correct. NCDRC issued notices to banks for service deficiencies. That is correct. Police recovered 22 crore of scammed funds till date. नहीं सर, पुलिस ने इतना नहीं रिकवर किया. पुलिस ने जो रिकवर किया that is only 2.67 crores. So this is related to the scam. उस पर एक रिपोर्टिंग आई है, उस रिपोर्टिंग का पॉइंट मैंने आपको दे दिया. नेक्स्ट, Indian lenders expand globally as per the RBI survey. So according to the RBI survey, Indian banks overseas branches has grew 1.9% and staff has grown by 6.1%. Absolutely correct. Overseas balance sheet increased 9.1%. Subsidiaries balance sheet increased 4.2%. Correct. Foreign banks in India, credit growth 8.4%, deposit to 6.8%. True. Survey covered 13 Indian banks abroad and 44 foreign banks in India. That is also correct. Interest income of Indian banks abroad increased 72% नहीं सर, it has increased only 8%. Interest income has increased only 8%, not 72%. So answer is going to be B option again. अगला. Next is related to the unsecured business loans. Again, unsecured business loans से related एक data आया था, उसमें बात करेंगे. Delinquency for 5 to 10 lakh loans increased to 4.6% in financial year 2024-25. So this is correct. Sub 5 lakh loans delinquency has jumped to 6.9%. अगर आप 5 लाख से कम की बात करेंगे तो उसमें तो जो delinquency है, what is this delinquency? Any idea? वर्ड बड़ा सिंपल है सर, ये पता नहीं शायद किसी को आइडिया ना हो तो मैं बता दूं. Whenever we use this particular word delinquency, it basically means what? So delinquency basically means, or it occurs when a borrower fails to make a scheduled payment by due date. So delinquency is usually tracked in days past due. We call it as DPD, days past due. For example, 30 days delinquent. 30 days delinquent means payment overdue by 30 days. 60 days delinquent means payment overdue by 60 days. तो ये पॉइंट है which you need to remember. ठीक है जी. अब उसके बेसिस पे अगर हम बात करें, MSME in textile, gems, food processing hit by US tariff. हाँ जी सर, बिल्कुल ये लोग हिट हुए हैं because of US tariffs. Public sector banks and NBFCs, they have bigger unsecured loan exposure. That is true. Large corporates are equally vulnerable as MSMEs. No, this is wrong. Large corporates are better than MSMEs. तो यहां पे आंसर क्या बनेगा? So B option is the correct answer. Fifth statement is wrong. ठीक है जी. Clear? Moving on to the next point. अगला पॉइंट हमें क्या कहता है, ध्यान से देखना. NFRA to inspect big four audit firms. तो NFRA is going to inspect the big four audit firms. तो NFRA inspect big four begin by October end 2025. True. Focus on related party transaction disclosures, documentations, non-audit services. True. Section 144 of Companies Act ban auditors from 9 types of non-audit services. That is correct. Scope also included Lodha and Company, MSKA in the earlier reviews. That is true. NFRA found audit fees exceeded non-audit fees in the most cases. नहीं, उल्टा है. Non-audit fees was greater than audit fees. Was greater than audit fees. ये पॉइंट आपको याद रखना. ठीक है जी. सो कीपिंग इन माइंड बी ऑप्शन इज करेक्ट. चलो, तो गाइस बाकी के कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं, दैट विल बी योर होमवर्क. इन क्वेश्चंस के मैं आंसर्स की पीडीएफ आपको प्रोवाइड कर दूंगा. यू विल गेट द पीडीएफ. उसमें 99 यानी अगले 19 क्वेश्चन के आंसर्स मार्क दूंगे. आप रीड कर लीजिएगा. मोस्ट ऑफ देम हैव बीन डन. जैसे पीआरबी वाला ऑलरेडी डन है, आरबीआई की लिक्विडिटी वाला पॉइंट ऑलरेडी डन है, एस मुर्मू वाला पॉइंट ऑलरेडी डन है, आरबीआई का नॉर्म रिलेटेड टू दी बैंकिंग नॉर्म्स इज ऑलरेडी डन, RBI direction on deceased customer claims are already done, RBI norms for digital payments already done, RBI's 2025 direction on digital payment authentication already done. तो ये वो पॉइंट्स है जो ऑलरेडी डन है. तो मैंने उनके जो, ये समझो कि अगले जो 20 क्वेश्चन है, these are the revision questions for you. अगले 20 क्वेश्चन और रिवीजन क्वेश्चन. जितना अभी तक पढ़ा उसी के बेसिस पे 15 questions you can easily attempt out of 20. Rest 5 will be new. वो आप एक बार पढ़ लीजिएगा. ठीक है जी. डन हो गया. मजा आया. डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक द सेशन बिफोर लीविंग एंड आई विल बी शेयरिंग द पीडीएफ सून आफ्टर दिस पर्टिकुलर सेशन. Do share your feedback guys and do share your feedback in the comment section also so that I can get to know कि आपको मेरा सेशन अच्छा लग रहा है या नहीं. जितने ज्यादा कमेंट होंगे उतना ज्यादा रीच होगा इस सेशन का. So I want you to comment so that it should reach to most of the students who are preparing for this particular examination. Done? यस यस, सितंबर पूरा कवर है अंकुल. इसमें मोर देन कवर है. जितना चाहिए उससे भी ज्यादा कवर किया मैंने. सो डोंट वरी, इतनी पीडीएफ पढ़ लेना, दैट इज मोर देन सफिशिएंट. सो दैट विल बी ऑल गाइस. विल कैच यू सून. बाय बाय, टेक केयर, गुड लक, गॉड ब्लेस यू.